Welcome, dirty peasants, to Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. This is episode 45, and we are covering Amphibia Season 2, Episode 5, Swamp and Sensibility and Wax Museum. I'm your host, Thembaticon, and joining me today we have PrincessCthulu,
Hello, everyone. It's good to be back.
Impact,
Yo, what's poppin', y'all?
and Nick.
What's up, guys?
Alright, thanks guys for coming on. So, no news this week. I just remembered Matt made a tweet about if you've been keeping up with the animation industry, there's been a lot of there's been like a not protest, but like a push for better pay and better working conditions in the animation industry. And Matt posted a really nice video about the importance of colorists in production and what they do and why they deserve better working conditions and better wages. And it's on his Twitter somewhere. It's a nice video. It's an interesting. It's nice to see Matt supporting these workers and him yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, I agree completely. In fact, I'm glad that there's been a push in the animation industry for more ethical treatment of workers. I'm sure we all remember the whole Futurama thing with John DiMaggio not coming back because him and his coworkers aren't getting paid what he thinks is fair.
Yeah, and credit to him, like, just for sticking by that, and like, apparently he's on board now for the revival, but I'm assuming.
Oh, is he? I missed out on that.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, I'm guessing he got the pay you wanted then, right? Like, he wouldn't come back unless they actually like gave him something he wanted this time. Because I know, like, yeah, this isn't the first time they had a whole fight about the pay they were getting. Like back then, like they folded pretty fast, but here, like I think like he actually got what he wanted out of this. I mean, I don't know for sure, but fingers crossed.
Well, that's good. But yeah, I'm glad that creators are drawing more attention to the workers of the animation industry. Especially for jobs as underappreciated as colorists.
Yeah. It's really nice to see them all unified, because I know, like, a lot of what I've heard from them is just they were just afraid of being like that single person with a voice just saying this stuff. But the fact that like so many of them have gone on Twitter just to share their experiences, like I just love seeing that, because it just shows they have people who are just like them who are willing to stand by them.
Right, for sure. And hopefully this doesn't die down, like, in everyone in the industry keeps voicing their like concern over this, so it doesn't leave like the public eye. So
yeah,
hopefully that continues.
I'm like constantly liking and retweeting anything I can. I know it's like all you can do, but like I just keep going at it.
Right. So I guess like other than that, that's it for news this week. We'll go right into Swamp and Sensibility, which was written by Gloria Shen, storyboards by Alicia Rocha and Silver Paul, and directed by Kyler Spears. So while on their trip, the planners, Bessie's reins break, and then they're forced to make a pit stop in Ribbitville, where I'm actually checking the name of this town again.
Ribbiton.
Ribbiton, and it's a super fancy place to live and super expensive as well. But they happen to encounter a Wally of all people, and it turns out that he's the son of like a really like rich and famous, not famous, like a very popular type of like foot floss, and he's like, Wally's a millionaire, and the planners react to this, and then they get invited for dinner, and then we get this whole plot about Wally revealing to his parents, or to his dad, what he did in Wartwood, him getting shunned by that, and because Anne kind of forced him to reveal this, and Anne has to help Wally uh, remain part of the family, basically, and eventually they, after like a game similar to Polo, it's I'm trying to look for the name of the game. This like Polo version. This frog
It was
version of
kind of more
Polo.
like 1v1 soccer.
True, I guess because of the sticks, that made me like think of croquet more.
Yeah.
Or not croquet, sorry, polo. But anyways, yeah, they have that duel. Then eventually, like Wally, Anne helps Wally win, and then it ends. The episode ends with Wally's dad accepting him, and that was Swap and Sensibility. And yeah, this was a really fun episode. It was kind of like the sequel to Wally and Anne, and it was nice to, even though we're on the road trip, it was nice to get like I'm pretty much paraphrasing everything like a friend of ours, Advent, said in the chat a few days ago. It felt like a Wartwood episode on the road, and also since it was like a sequel to Wally and Anne, that's why the episode like felt so great and felt like a really nice follow up. Uh, yeah, the animation was nice. It was nice to see Ribbiton, or sorry, Ribbitvale. It was a nice. We're so used to seeing kind of like, I don't know how to describe like the Frog Valley architecture, but like this one's like a lot more fancy, as the episode stated. It was nice to see all like the really like nice decorative backgrounds, and the players weren't too involved in this, which was fine because since this is a Wally and Anne follow up, it made sense to focus on them, and of course Wally's great. We got that Kermit the Frog cameo, and yeah, all around this was a really fun episode. Impact, what are your thoughts on this segment?
So I really like this episode a lot. Which like what you said, this is a sequel to um to Wally and Ann. And I think like I'm not sure this is our first kind of like sequel episode. We get more of these like in season 3, where like we get Fixing Frobo, it's a sequel to Friender Frobo. Hollywood Hop Pop is a sequel to Caravan of Desire. So this was really fun. It was a really cool role reversal too of Wally and Anne, where and in that episode, Anne had to learn kind of to not care about what other people think about her. But now it's the reverse. Now Anne's trying to help Wally out with kind of the same problem, but she kind of pulls it off in the wrong kind of way. She's trying to help, but like it ends up backfiring on her in general. She tries to make up for it in some way. And I really like this episode. It's really fun. I think this is one of like, I don't know. I just really enjoy this episode a lot. I love that dynamic between Wally and that's really fun that they brought that back. And yeah, and the setting for this episode is really fun too. So yeah, I really like this episode.
All right, thank you, Impact. PC, what were your thoughts on this episode?
Well, I think I also quite enjoyed it. I think perhaps my favorite thing about this episode is that, like all good twists should, it makes the preceding story better. Like if you rewatch Wally and Anne after having watched this episode, it becomes objectively better the second time around, because you see Wally talking about getting a fresh start in a new place where nobody knows who you are, and that's so clearly why he chooses to live in Wartwood. And I just love that, because that is how twists and surprises should be. It should not only surprise you, it should make the stuff that came before it better on rewatch. Overall, I really enjoyed the episode. Humor. It has one of my favorite jokes in the entire show regarding the family challenge. But that being said, I don't think it was perfect. The ending felt a little not phoned in, but it felt a little bit too easily resolved. But still, overall, one of my favorite episodes of season 2, and already extremely heavily loaded season.
All right, thank you, PC. Nick, what were your thoughts on this episode?
I mean, the same thing. You guys have already said. Like, it's a great episode, full of a lot of funny jokes. It's like, yeah, personally, I can't tell whether or not like they planned for this huge twist with Wally, but like whether or not they did, like it, yeah, like PC said, it has a really great connection to Wally and Anne. It just what Wally tried to teach Anne in that episode. You know, just the whole idea of staying true to yourself, going to a new place and shaping a whole new identity to fall in love with. It's all right there, and I think they did a really good job of connecting it. I don't have too much to say right now because I do want to save my thoughts for later for us to like go on about. But like, yeah, overall, just great episode.
All right, thank you, Nick. So getting into the episode, it starts off with another one of Anne's like whatever movies Anne downloaded on her phone. Like it was called From Point to Hopping, I think. And it looked like one of those like actually I don't know how to describe it. It's just like one of those movies where the child is doing that extracurricular thing, but then they also have this other thing they're more passionate about.
The high school musical thing.
Yeah, yeah, High School Musical. Uh, yeah, that was funny, and like you have like the comedic tears and mucus for the ugly
Yeah.
crying.
I really like seeing Sprig all snuggled up in his blanket. Like, it was just really cute.
Yeah, that was nice too.
Like, he's just sitting there.
And
Yeah,
then
no, that was just funny. I don't know. I just thought it was really funny that her whole motivation for this episode. Well, okay, part of it was helping Wally, but like, there's this underlying need to see her movie brought into reality. It was just really funny to me.
we sorry, repeat that, Nick. So separating what from reality?
Like, obviously, like her main motivation here was to help Wally with his family, but like, I just thought it was really funny that there's her like underlying need to have her movie brought into reality.
Oh, right. I think when has she done this? She does it in the future for Sprig at Schooled, but
Yeah, she frequently uses movies that she has seen to heavily color her worldview of certain things.
yeah, and it doesn't really stop until I think season 3.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I think this might be getting a bit too in the weeds, but I think episodes like this really kind of show a clear point on Anne's character arc throughout the series, going from someone who is selfish to someone who wants to help but doesn't know how to, and finally going to what we see in season 3. And I'm not going to get into the weeds with all that, but
Right, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
And then Hop Hop is trying to control Bessie after the rain snap, and I love how like Sprig points out like they can go to Ribbitvale, but then Hop Hop's like, no, everything's expensive, we're not going there. But then of course they end up they don't have any other choice. And I like how Bessie is just like cuddling up with that sheep fly. I just thought it was cute.
oh yeah, another scene of Bessie being the best character on screen.
Yeah, she's still carry like at this point in the series, she's still carrying the show on her back.
Yeah.
So props to her. The planners get into Ribbit Vale, and they're immediately taken aback by the fancy, as Hop Hop described. And I love how like Sprig and Polly both have those expressions, and then like Hop Hop like sprays Polly with water like a dog, or not a dog, just like a pet or whatever. Like, oh, I just felt bad for Polly. Like, imagine like Hop Hop just like spraying the kids when they like misbehave.
They're amphibians. They're fine.
I
They
mean,
like being
yeah. So
they like being sprayed with water.
yeah. So this wouldn't
I
be
know
a
he
punishment. That's the
disciplines
weird part. Wait, what?
yeah. No, yeah, it's weird how he disciplines them because he just made me think of Little Frog Town when like he tries to hype up. Like, I don't even remember. I think he tried to hype up like going to Sal's restaurant to go get some like go get a burger or something. And like when the kids weren't happy with that, he just slaps them across the face with like a newspaper or something. he like Hopper doesn't play around.
So yeah, they get into Ribbit Vale, and I'm trying to look at what's on the sign when they enter. The fanciest town in all of Amphibia. That's I guess they know they're. I guess that's just them marketing their town.
It is admittedly a very fancy town. I don't remember. I'm not looking at it right now, but I believe the buildings are coated in solid gold.
Gold or copper? Yeah, it's something fancy. And it
It
looks.
is interesting.
Oh, go ahead, Impact.
I was gonna say it is interesting that like Ribbit Vale is mostly frogs and stuff. It isn't like a lot of like because we usually think of like society in Amphibia like the hot shots are like the newts, with Newtopia and such. They're the ones with the highest amount of power. But it is interesting that we have like a town of frogs that like is rich and is a little wealthy. I don't know. I think that I find that very interesting. You would have thought like obviously Wally's dad's not gonna be a new. Well, I mean maybe, but probably not. But like I just find that very neat that they had like an entire frog town that has full of frogs that's rich. I think that actually adds a lot more to the world of Amphibia. It kind of makes it more diverse. It's not just the newts have all the power, they still do. But like frogs can get their way up in the world. It's very hard, but they can. So yeah. So I like that a lot about this episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a nice bit of unsaid background storytelling that that frogs are allowed to be like rich merchants, but not allowed to hold, say, public office, which is something that a lot of oppressed people like experienced in the past, like being allowed to succeed, but still not allowed to actually be represented in the government.
Right, right.
And I guess the Ribbit Vale could be like, what's the word? If I'm saying it right, the bourgeois.
Yeah, I mean, they're very bougie. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I really do get you guys saying it. Like, yeah, it's like, do you think some of it comes from the benefit of not being like closed within the valley? Like, they don't have any like code lords like watching over them, like oppressing them through like harsh taxes or anything? Like, do you think it comes from some of
Probably,
that?
yeah. Probably,
Yeah, well,
yeah. I mean, I think there's like it might be like controlled somewhat by like I'm not sure like where exactly are we in Amphibia? Are we still in the place where Grime kind of because we're out of the valley, right? So like
yeah,
Grime doesn't control this part.
Yeah, so Grime doesn't have. They wouldn't have any control outside of Frog Valley.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
because
I
there's the other towers too. I'm sorry.
yeah, no. I think generally the main reason why the valley is under such harsh control is because it's like mostly farmland. While this kind of seems like a trading center, like a crossroads of sorts.
Ooh, that's a good point. Shoot, I didn't think about that.
Oh,
Like,
so it's like they don't. they're more concerned. The toads are more concerned about making sure the frogs actually produce. But then once it gets traded, it's not really something they need to worry about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we know that the valley is like extremely fertile farmland.
Yeah.
Like the first season is in winter, and they have several harvests. So presumably, a lot of Amphibia's food comes from Frog Valley. So that's why they're under such tight control.
It's weird that like it's Frog Valley gets closed off though after like for like 3 months. Like if that's where a lot of like food for Amphibia comes from, like that kind of sucks, right? Because you can't like get those crops and stuff for like 3 months because the valley's all closed off.
Well, they stock up beforehand, and I'll remind you that as soon as the valley melted, we see tons of truckers on the main road.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna bring that up. Like,
Oh yeah,
Soggy Joe is immediately like. That's why we see him on the road. I mean, like, yeah, I guess like I think Soggy Joe's like car was carrying like lumber and stuff. So I can see the moment Frog Valley opens up, like all this like trade happens along the main path, which is what Hop Hop and the kids are taking right now.
Yeah, it's just very interesting how, and I'm sure that the Amphibia crew are not putting like too much thought into the socioeconomic complexities of Amphibia. But I do like how things are kind of built up in the background without like being spelled out exactly. Like this big, prosperous trading town full of super rich frogs. It adds a lot to the world, like you were saying.
Yeah, I like how Amphibia's world. It's kind of easy to build on it, but like it doesn't really step toes over whatever they've established before. So it just feels like we're still. It just feels like a nice. It feels like a bunch of layers that don't really like interfere with one another.
I think like Matt called it like soft world building for Amphibia. We always get like kind of a general idea of how the entire world works, but like we never get like whole hog into it. You know, like we're not having like government talks. You don't see like Andreas like I don't know having big like government talks
Yeah.
about
Negotiations.
Like we
exactly.
don't get a big exposition dump about how the Toad hierarchy works, but we meet the commanders of the North, South, and East Toad Towers, for instance.
Right.
Like we get lots of things that kind of tell us what's going on, but give us plenty of room to fill in the background details.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to the episode. We get into Rivet Vale. We meet Wally, and I like how when they describe the town, they're like, "Oh, there's even a one-eyed Wally," and then they realize it's the one-eyed Wally, and Wally's got that like I don't know what to describe his clothes as, just dapper.
Oh, drip.
Really?
Wait, what'd you say?
I said frilly.
Frilly. Yeah, yeah, he has like those frill things on his shoulders and his little hat, and he has his own cane. I don't want to call it a pimp cane, but
No.
I mean he doesn't need it. He's just using.
No. It's a fancy cane. It's not for walking.
It's just for class.
Not to go on another tangent, and I'm sorry. But when I rewatched this episode, something I found really funny is that Wally's dad is looking at a jug store.
Yeah, I'm looking at screenshot right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I never realized. Wow. Okay, that is a really cool detail because it's like, wow.
Like it doesn't really contribute much, but it's just a fun little detail.
Yeah, I
A little bit
didn't
of
notice that
foreshadowing.
until
Okay,
now.
I like this episode a little more now. Like I already loved it, but I like a lot more. Like that's just a great detail. Wow.
Like it's blink and you miss it, but
And I like how once the planners see Wally, like Wally is just like he doesn't react, but once he drops the cane, you know he's like horrified. Like his two worlds are colliding with the worst possible people in a good way.
yeah.
Okay, maybe
Well,
not in
not
a great
entirely
way.
good. I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, and then like Wally has to kind of cover it up as his servants from his travels, and I don't want to talk about Wally's like. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about Wally yet, but yeah, just Wally's trying to cover things up, and I like how Polly like tries to break his hand.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was great. Oh, that was really funny.
Honestly, so, well, we're not getting into Wally yet, but yeah, I really like him in this episode.
Yeah, and then of course I like how I'm looking for the clip where Wally's dad is. What does he say to Anne? Oh, and this must be some kind of exotic beast you tamed, and Anne's face is just.
Yeah, she's just fucking. She's already done.
So then, yeah, actually, I need to look up Wally's dad's name. It's Wigbert. Wigbert
Wigbert?
Ribbiton,
Wakeford.
voiced
Wow.
by Hugh
I wouldn't.
Bonneville. Who
I
is
would not
this?
have guessed Wigbert.
So yeah, Wigbert. Okay, I'm debating calling him Wally's dad again. Okay, no, actually no, I should respect the name. Wigbert offers to
Wait,
house the planners for the night and look after Bessie and get her reins fixed. And of course, since this is a rich guy, the planners and Anne like happily accept this offer, which smart on them. And then they get to the mansion. And it's like it's huge, and there's like peacocks like roaming the front yard or front. I should say not. It's not even a yard. It's like a field.
I'm not even sure, like what I the grounds. I believe.
Right. That's what you would describe it as. The grounds. Rich people have different. They speak in
Yeah,
a different
rich people
language.
don't have front yards.
Uh, must be nice. So yeah, they enter like yeah. Wigbert also says, "Oh, this is one of our smaller rooms." And it's like huge and with like a tapestry painting.
Oh yeah, just classic, insanely fancy cartoon stuff. It's like it's hard. It's hard to mess with the best, you know.
Yeah, I'm just like looking at the yeah, and there's like yeah, I just love all these backgrounds because I'm glad they took advantage of this being like a fancy town and just going all out. And like
Oh
Amphibia's background artists are already great. So
yeah, the artists did not hold back on the backgrounds for this thing. They went all out in the best way possible.
oh, I noticed a little minor detail, but I know it shows up again later, so I'm gonna hold off from mentioning it. But yeah, I like the guy in the photo reminds me of Sprig. Not photo, like
Like
the guy in the painting. Sorry, but that's not the detail I was referring
Oh,
to. But I'll come back to that later.
yeah, I think I have an idea of what you mean.
Yeah. So they hang out. The planners explore while Anne gets to have her episode with Wally again. uh, and yeah, and then Wally is kind of talking about like how he's afraid to like tell his dad like what he really wants to do and what like he wants that freedom, but he knows he can't have it in Ribbitvale. And yeah, I like that. I like how Anne's trying to apply the lesson she learned from him last time, like to him, like to back to him again. But like Wally isn't really like as hopeful or as like optimistic as he was like in Wally and Anne, or like not optimistic. Like Wally and Anne was like so kind of like free, and was able. That's why he was able to like get to Anne so well. But like here, Anne is trying to do that same thing with Wally, but because Wally like he said, like this is his home and stuff, so that like just complicates things. Like this complicates things to him in his mind, even though like Anne is now just like I guess the more carefree one in this episode.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting to see that change. It's like Wally and Ann really try to promote the idea of staying true to yourself, right? And just staying true to your values. Then like here in Swamp and Sensibility, like I guess they're showing like the potential consequences of that. Like really what like if you're trying to stay true to yourself versus your own family, I mean like yeah, things are gonna get a lot more complicated. So I thought yeah, it's sort of like a sequel that tries I don't want to say like I mean, because it's not that deep, but I think it tries to go for something a little more complicated, which is nice.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah,
I think
like
it's also one of those things too, where like I like that it kind of makes the lesson a bit stronger than the sense of like people, won't accept you all the time for who you are. Sometimes you'll be punished for it, and at that point, like for I don't know, I just think that's really neat because it gives a reason why Wally isn't being himself here. It kind of gives you an idea of why people aren't don't express themselves in certain ways because in some places they're punished for that. And so it kind of makes the lesson a little stronger here that not everyone will accept you for who you are all the time, even though in the ending kind of kind of doesn't work with that. But I mean, it also kind of does at the same time. But I think it just makes Wally and Anne's lesson just a lot stronger here, just in general. So yeah,
I think
that's
it
what I think.
really cements like that character dynamic in the best possible way.
Yeah, exactly. Because giving us that role reversal too allows Anne to show that she has learned that lesson, but there's a bit more to that lesson than she realizes. It makes that it makes her thought process stronger. It makes her have to add a lesson to that lesson. There we go.
Yeah, plus it's just like I don't mean this in like it's probably sound weird. Plus, it's just kind of nice to see her fail in that way. Like it's because it's like it's just the I guess I just really like the idea that like while she has improved greatly, she still has like a lot to learn with like the things she already has learned, right? And yeah, sure, she's learned that like yeah, being honest, being open, staying true to yourself is a good thing, but like right, there's like a time and a place for it. Like you don't reveal during dinner with your family, so yeah, it's just nice for Anne to like yeah, sure she's grown to like much better person, but she still has to figure that out. So I really did like seeing that in this episode.
Yeah, and it's like not not everyone will accept you for who you are, and that's a very important thing too. Like, yeah, you could try to be yourself, but not every place or every person around you is going to allow you to do that. And some people won't like you for who you want to be. Which I like how this episode kind of shows that dynamic a bit more with Wally and his dad. So, yeah.
yeah, those are all like really nice observations. Like yeah, Wally and Anne in Wally and Anne had the fresh start, and she didn't really have anyone. She because she was in Amphibia, she wouldn't have any pushback. But then since we're in like Wally's town, Wally's home, literally, like it's not. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same moral, but like it's a completely different environment and different conditions, I guess.
Yeah, it's about the fear of it's about wanting to be yourself, but also being afraid that the people in your life won't accept you.
Right.
And maybe they won't.
Yeah, and maybe they won't.
So I like that minor thing of like Wally keeping accordions stashed like everywhere.
That was a funny joke.
Yeah, so meanwhile the planners are exploring, well, they were exploring and then now they're just lost in this mansion.
Yeah, that's just so funny.
Yeah, they open up those
Uh,
like random doors. Like we get
yeah.
one thing is just like a bunch of like toads just in like in a sauna. Another one is just like that weird like a bunch of like masked people are just like beating up furniture and
Yeah.
I won't lie. This is not really. I'm not going anywhere with this. But the toad in the sauna gave me mad Spirited Away vibes.
oh, it's I think I know what scene you're talking, like the the sauna place in that hotel. Like when they first when the main character first like walks in, I think you get like a similar kind of
Yeah.
shot.
I don't have any more analysis I can take away from that. I got very Spirited Away vibes.
And then there's also like the final room where it's like this final room was the peacock room, I guess, and there's that one random guy with the costume just
Ah,
Yeah,
God.
he was like, shh. That was so weird. Like, oh man. But I just love the fact that like at that point they were too burnt out to even be shocked. Like, they just sighed and walked away. They're just so done at this point. And I love how it implies they're doing this for hours too. Just trying to find like what? Like a normal room to check out.
yeah.
Yeah, as subplots go, it's kind of a lot of like nothing, but it's very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't outstay its welcome. Like I think it's like less than a minute, like less than a minute. Or even less than half a minute, which is nice. They don't want to take up too much time for the main plot. Yeah, it's about 30 seconds, which is nice. And then it cuts to Anne and Wally in the stables. And like this like Wally's main motivation or the main reason he doesn't want to be like rejected by his family is because he doesn't want to lose his like his ladybug steed, Willoughby.
Oh yeah.
And I like how they show like the cute photo of him, like younger Wally with Willoughby, and then just shows like the present miserable version.
That was hilarious. Sad but hilarious.
Yeah, so then yeah, Wally just doesn't want to tell them. Okay, Wally kind of like suggests, oh, if they saw how happy he was in Wartwood, maybe all this could work out. And then of course Anne has a great terrible idea as he's like leaving the stables for dinner. And then and like does Sprig talk him try to like convince Anne that's a bad idea?
Yeah, I think he does, but like she wins him over in like 5 seconds, pretty much. Like I think he's like, "And you're meddling." Then she's like, "No, I'm not." Then he's like, "Okay," like
Oh yeah,
he's not
Yeah.
caring.
It's one of the sillier Sprig moments.
Yeah,
like Anne's like she says something like movies never lie, and because Sprig is always like before Anne does something stupid, Sprig is like, "Anne, are you sure you want to do this?" And then Anne's like, "Sprig, you're 11. Here's my reason why." And then Sprig's like, "Okay, have fun."
yeah,
It's definitely a running joke, especially in season 2.
yeah. He just goes whatever the hell she wants, pretty much.
I mean, in fairness, he is 11.
Yeah, which I have like no problem with that because I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Spring just looks up to her so much, so it's like like anything she's down with doing, like he'll go ahead and do it himself.
Yeah, like Anne's the big sister, so it's like she's the more experienced one. So if she says something that Sprig doesn't know too much about, he's just gonna take her word on it.
Yeah, in the movie, I saw it in a movie once, and movies are never wrong. I love that line. I don't know why. Like, and
It's a great line.
Sprig just goes okay, and then they just cut to the next scene.
And Sprig has
I love
probably
it.
watched only like whatever's on Anne's phone, so like maybe like 5 or 6 movies at most.
I mean, it explains why he goes along with. I mean, for all he knows, that is how movies work.
Yeah, so it cuts to the dinner. Well, not the dinner of the episode, but just the dinner here.
Yeah.
I just immediately got like flashbacks of the dinner.
Wow.
No, we're not there yet.
We already passed that
We went
Oh,
there.
that's right, we did. Yeah.
in terms of the podcast. But yeah, like it's just real. Yeah, even the food here reminds me of a reunion when Sasha showed off all the delicacies she had at the tower.
Yeah, I guess this is like considered to be gourmet food in Amphibia. Like, I'm just checking out the lineup right now. There's
It's what you'd expect, except with bug themed stuff.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, there's worms and like all the
It's like
food in there.
Is that like there's like this weird? I don't. Is that what the hell? Is it like a chicken? Like, is that like a chicken molded, like a smaller chicken molded onto a bigger chicken? Like, what is?
Yeah, I have no
That's just
idea.
weird.
I know what you're looking at.
Yeah, Amphibia is weird, man.
And then like
And there's like,
they do their like weird rich people like toast. I don't know what what that was with like with their teeth. Yeah, I'm still trying to look at the food, but I should probably not focus too much on it. But yeah, so after the rich people do their like toast, Anne gets up and decides to. Oh, sorry. Like when Anne's in the middle of like talking, like that one dude is like, "Oh, it talks" or something. Like I forget. Like Anne is like a creature in their world. Well, I don't
Yeah,
I don't forget it. It's just like I like how I like when other characters point it out, especially in these 2 segments.
yeah. I was about to say like these like okay. Well, kind of the beginning of the show, kind of emphasized that a little bit. With Anne being obviously Anne being new to the world, but her being like this weird dangly creature or whatever. But like these 2 segments specifically focused a lot on that. Obviously, we'll get to them when we get to Wax Weekly, but here it mentions it like a lot. They keep calling in this weird creature Wally tamed, and like I don't know. I just find that funny.
Like now that I think about it, was this the second town they visited on the road trip that we saw? Because I think the first one was Ittyburg, and then most of it was just like scenery.
yeah, pretty, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think you're right about that. It was just Bittyburg, then Ribbit then like I don't know if we got the name of the location for where Wax Museum takes place, but I mean it was another town.
Yeah, and at least in both these segments, they kind of addressed Anne being the freak. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, so Anne pretty much shows her the video she edited of Wally and Wartwood, and it's it's just Wally doing Wally stuff, and
Yeah.
like some of these clips, like I don't know, it was just funny. Like Wally's sleeping with like the chickens or whatever, taking a bath in the fountain. We know he
Yeah,
has.
this is just embarrassing.
Yeah, we know he has his own like bathtub like at his place. Like he's just
Yeah, he's just. I just. It's just funny. I don't know. I don't know like what he gets out of his life in Warwood, but like at least he's happy. It's just.
like
I don't know.
I think if I was being cynical about it, it's like Wally's this rich kid who just gets to like LARP
Yeah.
in Wartwood.
With literally, I hate to do this wall, but fucking, I don't know. It's fucking Squid Games, dude. He's LARPing as a poor person. Like, what's wrong with him? Like, I just imagine like his poor friends from Warwood just talking to him about their financial troubles, and Wally's just like, yeah, I so relate, dude. Like, I love Wally, but damn, look at that, he's polluting their fountain. This is like, what the fuck? Imagine
Like
this rich kid showing up in your town, ruining your fountain.
I assume he's like paying for all of his stuff by, but like with his family money. Like, but I'm guessing like living in Wartwood compared to living in Ribbitvale, the housing prices are probably a lot cheaper. Uh, yeah, Wally's just a rich kid on spring break for like half a year. Oh, and I like how
yeah,
those.
that is.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, no, I agree. That is exactly what he is.
I mean, and like,
Makes it a bit awkward.
yeah, and from that perspective, it's like, okay, Wally, I'm glad. It's like I'm glad you're happy, Wally, but you know, I guess when the class war happens, I guess we'll spare you.
uh, well, I
Oh,
mean, we know he makes money somehow because he pays his taxes.
Like, I assume he just takes like his family money and just like uses
Yeah.
that pay.
But if he did that, then he wouldn't have like any income to tax. So we know he pays his tax. He's paying tax on something.
So like,
maybe it just has to do with family business somehow. Like honestly,
oh wait, wait, this actually plays into like one theory / observation I had in this episode for later. Maybe,
okay, I feel like I really know what you're thinking about. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, like, uh, I forgot Wally's dad's name again. I'm going back to the wiki.
Wigbert.
Wig, yeah, Wigbert.
Yeah, so Wigbert, just like he's like not taking this well. He's like Wally's like, oh, I thought you'd like he pretty much like proves Wally's like worst fears of like this. If they found out, they would not accept him, and Wigbert literally says, "We do not accept you."
That did
Dude,
suck.
that was
I felt
cruel.
really bad.
Yeah.
Like, it was super funny, but that was so brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of
I mean,
course,
at least. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Nick.
I was just gonna say, at least they didn't kick him out. Like, at least he doesn't have to be an actual like vagabond now. Like, at least it still has like a roof over his head.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, so then Wally has had enough, and he does that like intricate dance and does the like the family challenge and challenges his dad to a duel for his place in the family.
And that is like my favorite joke. It's the part where Anne goes, "What is that?" and Hop Bop goes, "Family challenge, Anne. You've been here long enough. You should know."
Yeah.
That's just It's just so funny to me, and I don't know why.
I guess because it's like such a weird like the initiation is like such a weird thing. Like even back in Spring versus Hop Pop, like Spring just like ran up to like the some random bell and started like chanting.
Yeah.
But man, I love how like I love the lore. Not I shouldn't call it lore. It's not like that insane, but it's just I love the
The lore.
I like how this was set up in Spring versus Hop Hop and we came back again. It's nice to see that these traditions are like isn't just like a planter thing. It's like it's ingrained in their society.
Yeah, plus it feels like it's sort of like it feels like a sort of meta joke in a way because I feel like it's also referring to the audience because it's like we've
Yeah.
been watching Amphibia. Yeah, at this point it's been like what, like well over a season, so it's like so it's like I mean we should have a pretty good guess of what's going on. Plus it's sort of like you're also questioning, wow, why did they put so much effort into that tiny scene of Wally dancing around and kicking a knife towards like whatever the heck that thing was, but. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's like a weird little meta joke, but that just works. Because every time I see it, I just laugh.
Oh man, imagine boarding that scene of Wally doing that dance. Like I don't know if Silver Paul or Lizzie Rocha did that, but like credit to them. Especially with the ribbon and stuff, like that just makes things even more complicated. Yeah, so the
I
family duel
love
happened.
that they.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Impact, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I love that that they brought it back in the first place. I think one of the things they didn't really have to bring back a lot of these like well I mean yeah like season 1 they didn't have to bring back a lot of these aspects from season 1 too. They could have just kind of kept them in there and you really wouldn't have cared that much. But now with season 2 it shows that we're paying a lot more attention to continuity and stuff as well, to a point where we can bring stuff like the family challenge back. Like, why not?
Yeah.
From a previous
Why not bring it
episode.
back?
Yeah, I think that again, it's just really nice that they took that time to like bring that back when they didn't have to. They could have just ignored it. It could have just made it a regular thing, or not even reminded you that that was a thing before with the hot pop line and they make it a joke too. So it works like very well for both of those things, reminding the audience and making fun of it at the same time. So I think that's great.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the challenge is basically Wally doesn't want to be. Wally is fighting to get out of the Ribbiton family, and yeah, he can leave Ribbitvale, live however he likes. But if he loses, he takes over the family business and stays in Ribbitvale forever. And I mean, to Wally, I'm sure this is like a devastating like this is like a high risk challenge. But I mean, from our point of view, it's like either he gets to do whatever he wants or he stays in town as a millionaire.
The horror.
uh yeah, so they're playing a game of Beast Polo. So yeah, it's basically polo, but
Beast Polo. I don't know the rules for Polo, so I have no idea if that's how you play it.
neither do I, because we don't play rich people sports. I mean, yeah, they're riding horses. There has to be a high cost of entry. Anyways, yeah, so they like Wally's kind of upset that Anne kind of started all of this and he doesn't want her to like he doesn't want her to do any more meddling. He'll have to figure it out on his own. And yeah, it cuts to like the playing field, and we get to see Kermit the Frog, Kermit the Frog's character as Crumpet, and it's I think in Big City Greens we got Fozzie Bear as like the dentist, and I like the Muppets making appearances on these Disney Channel shows, and I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, I know Matt Vogel, I should not Kermit's voice actor, Kermit's handler, isn't like the most beloved uh, handler of Kermit the Frog, but you know, I thought he was fine here. Oh, I also like the little detail of Polly's actually wearing. She's actually wearing Wally's hat. I just thought it looked cute on her.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
And I guess I can talk about it now. Um, when it cuts to like the playing field, you can see like it's like a big giant farm of boom shrooms. And my theory is that the reason the Ribbitons, the Ribbitons' wealth doesn't just come from they're from their floss, their foot floss. It comes from their weapon. They're a weapons manufacturer.
Oh yeah, they're arms dealers.
Yeah, like
I mean, it explains why Wally just walks around with boom shrooms, like pretty much. Explains why he had so much reunion.
It does. It does. Yeah. I mean, I just assumed he was a crazy person when I first watched that.
I mean, I bet he still is. Like, I bet he honestly he probably still is with the kind of life he tries to live.
yeah, and even in the tapestry, that giant poster in the planner's guest room, like in the guest room for the planners, like there was like a little boom shroom there too. So it's like, to me, it's
Yeah.
like it seems like their generational wealth has been built on. They're like the Rockefeller family. It's like because I think their fortune was built on creating dynamite, right?
Was it really?
I
didn't
have.
know that.
I do not know how the Rockefellers made their wealth. So do not ask me.
I wasn't it. I thought it was oil. Am I bugging? I feel like the Rockefellers like did it by oil, right? It wasn't.
And
I didn't. I
I
don't
know.
remember dynamite.
Oh, you're right. You're
It was
right. It's
the, I,
kerosene and gasoline. Like, who am I thinking about for
yeah.
dynamite?
It was the Nobel family that that did dynamite,
Oh, okay, my bad.
Oh.
which is why they did the Nobel Peace Prize, because they didn't want to be remembered for, you know,
I was with the
the
say,
dynamite part.
I was with the say,
That's
that sounds really ironic. Like the Nobel
Yeah.
Peace Prize for creating dynamite.
Dynamite.
Well, that was why they did it. Okay, tangent. I believe as the legend goes, someone who wasn't like the head of the family, but like had last name Nobel died, and the papers like ran like a big story like the Merchant of Death is dead, and no, and the as I don't know if this I think this might just be made up. But according to the legend, that's what got him to start the Nobel Peace Prize.
I mean, yeah, that would kind of make sense for like a rich person's like perspective. Like, they don't need to worry about anything other than their status and legacy.
Yeah.
So it checks out.
Makes me think the Ribbitons may be a bigger part of the rebellion or something. They got a whole like boom shoe like manufacturer. Like that could be crazy. I guess
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
That'd be awesome.
I'm excited to see you. I hope we see some of these towns during the return to Amphibia and like what's been going on.
Oh yeah, this I won't go too much into a tangent, but Wartwood Resistance Rebellion is gonna be the hypest thing in VB. It
hype.
totally will.
It hands down.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's so much it can do.
I'm also gonna go off topic. Like, way back in the Reddit Q&A, Matt mentioned we'd see Swamp Shiro, but we still haven't seen it yet. So I'm hoping it's gonna happen. But
Oh yeah.
Isn't that one of the towns in the valley? I
Yeah,
forget.
it was.
Oh,
Like, it was like back in Reunion, like Sasha showed like the four other towns or three other towns on that like map, and Swampshire was one of them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I hope that's a thing, more towns. But yeah,
I just want to see rebel frogs wearing cute little rebel hats. That's all I want.
Yeah.
so I'm trying to see. Yeah, Crumpet makes some kind of like frog joke, and no one laughs. I think. And like Hop Hop just makes
Yeah.
a
That poor
little
guy.
like, "Oh, this guy's quite the character."
that was a funny bit. I don't know why. That got a chuckle out of me.
And since Crumpet is like designed to look a lot like Kermit, I'm guessing like this was planned very early on. And even for the like promotion of the series itself, they had Kermit.
Yeah.
They had like
Yeah,
a
there was that
little
little thing of Kermit, right?
yeah. So maybe they were working on season 2 at the time, or maybe it was just like for an ad, and then maybe Matt probably thought, okay, if we're getting a second season, we're definitely getting Kermit back, and yeah, Kermit did an ad for Amphibia, like promoting Amphibia, and then for the D23 Expo in 2019, like Kermit was the moderator of the panel. So I'm glad Kermit played a big. I'm glad Kermit was involved with this show.
Yeah.
It made perfect sense. Like
Watch him come back for the rebellion.
I don't think he will.
I
want it. I do want it. Trust me. But
I just imagine him being back.
leading the charge. I do remember when Kermit was first. When we first found out Kermit was going to be like a guest star, like some of us were speculating like there was like a fake leak where it said like there was some kind of connection between Crumpet and Anne getting home, but it feels like in
Like, for
hindsight,
real?
it feels like in hindsight
What?
the maybe like whoever like posted this, whatever. It seems like it was just blending in Wax Museum and his role in this segment together.
yeah,
Okay.
I did not hear about this.
Yeah,
Maybe
like this is first for me too.
maybe it wasn't a leak. Maybe someone was just like passing around like fake info. Like I
Was it
could
like a Reddit post or something?
it wasn't like a red. I remember seeing in the Discord server like there was some kind of it was something like, oh, Anne discovers a friend and something that could lead her back home. Like she sees something she recognized from her home, guest starring Kermit the Frog as Crumpet. So maybe people kind of maybe I was just looking at a theory. Maybe that's what I'm confusing it with. I do know like I personally wanted Kermit to voice Frobo back when we just because
Oh
I
my
thought like
God.
okay, like
Wow.
Kermit's a frog, make him voice like
Wow.
make him voice a frog character that's not a frog.
I kind of would have loved that. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
That would
That
have been
would've been
pretty
crazy.
funny.
But yeah, just like they start off the game and Wilbert has like the playing ball, like the polo ball, like in his eye. He just like lifts up his
Yeah,
monocle.
that
And
was so. What was that?
it was
That
disgusting.
was so weird.
Yeah, so Wally can't choose I was gonna say Bayleaf. Sorry. Wally can't sorry Pokemon in my brain. Wally can't choose Fiddleleaf because it's a Ribbiton family beast, and that's when Anne comes in to the rescue as she offers herself to be Wally's steed. And I kind of love how like Wally was like the first character we saw in Amphibia, and he's talking about Anne being this kind of beast, and now like he gets to like ride Anne into battle, or not into battle, into this game, and she's being his beast for this episode. I just thought that was super like interesting on in retrospect.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%.
So yeah, they play Beast Polo, and there's not much to talk about this game other than for like the final goal, uh, like Wally just pulls out an accordion out of Anne's hair. I like
Yeah,
how
that was funny.
I like how
Yeah.
Anne's hair is like. I haven't watched Steven Universe, but that lion character, like storing everything in the hair, I
Oh
just thought it was
yeah,
funny.
I
Yeah, and he said it was for
just
like a seasons at least, right? Like for like a season at least, right?
Yeah,
I thought that was like a
yeah.
fun little meta joke.
I can never tell if that. I mean, it is a meta joke, but like, there's also a sense of like it also works well with the story itself because it's been like a season since getting out of Wartwood and stuff
Oh
too.
yeah.
So it kind of works in both ends there. So yeah,
yeah, I like how
Yeah.
Amphibia does meta humor, but for some of their meta jokes, at least they try to like make it like fit into the universe, if that makes sense.
No, I think it totally makes sense, and I do like that about it. It's not like it makes meta jokes, but it's not over the top in your face about it, even though it really could be.
Yeah, and I do think sometimes they do they do have like more meta jokes. I just like it when they keep them a little more like down to earth or down into this universe, I guess.
yeah, and it makes it so then too like it's just like a joke, but it also works so well with the characters themselves too. Like I think like one of the best meta jokes is actually like I think it's like season 3. It's like fixing Frobo. It's the Star Wars joke where like yeah, I think you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
one
yeah. I love
was
that
so
joke.
funny. Like it works so well with the characters too of Anne like not liking the prequel because she's watched all the movies, but the planters wouldn't because they're new to Earth. So not only does it work in a meta sense too, but it also works with the characters. Amphibia always does such a good job with that with its humor. It's great. So yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think my favorite one is still when they were leaving the movie theater after Mr. X, right? Like Anne's like, oh yeah, I thought the movie was really nice. The protagonist had a lot of flaws that she was able to overcome. Like I know that one's really on the nose, but I do feel like Amphibia deserves to
Yeah, they
like rip
deserve
themselves
to
off.
get to
Yeah,
pat themselves on the back a
yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, so they score the final goal, Anne and Wally win, and Wilbert kind of expects Wally to leave, but Wally he still wants to be part of the family. He just wanted to be accepted, and we get like that nice we get that nice like reconciliation, and yeah, I know like it kind of seems like maybe Wilbert kind of accepted Wally a little too quickly, but I guess the advantage of these these like family challenges, it's like they have to abide by the deal, and
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very honest at least.
I would have preferred maybe if they ended it off with kind of being a bit more like not bittersweet, but in the sense of like Wally's dad is like isn't accepting of him like fully. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like he'll try, but it's gonna take a bit of time kind of situation with it. I don't know. I think that would have been a better progression. Because I think Wally's dad kind of comes from like, no, you can't be like this. This is terrible. To oh yeah, I'm all for it, dude. Keep doing what you're doing. It's a bit too quick. It's not like a big deal. So I think this episode's still great, but it's one of those blemishes I think that like they could have used like not jumped from like 0 to 100 so quick with them.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I feel like it's a very clean ending for the complicated setup they had before, right? Like, yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, especially how like Wilbert like completely like shut down Wally early in this episode. Oh, I like how there was also like that. There was also that big explosive finish with the boom shroom, and I mean, I don't know how much that family lost. I don't know how much. I don't know how much that giant boom shroom was worth. I assume it'd be.
Quite a bit. I would have to imagine.
But because this is on the field, I'm guessing this is just their. They can burn through as many boom shrooms as they please. I don't know. But yeah, the episode ends with the jug store. The jug store, like, I guess hint background detail comes back into play, and we see that Wilbur, he like also has like his own little like instrument he likes to play and kind of covers up throughout the house. And after this experience with Wally, he's comfortable like showing it off to the public now,
Yeah.
like father, like son. And I like Wally gives that little like smug look.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Just imagine how Wartwood will feel if they learn the truth about Wally. Like, it is like a super poor town, and you have this rich guy LARPing. Oh my, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and the episode ends with them like about to play a song, and for that we see that like like the segment just ends with that like
Such a
giant peacock coming
bizarre
in.
moment.
Yeah, that's.
And I
And I
didn't see
noticed that they've done that a lot, haven't they? Like just having this random. I don't know, just having this random jump scare right at the end of an episode. Like that's what they did in New Wartwood, right? Where like that one toadstool costume turned out just to be a bunch of bugs and it scared everyone away. Like here they do it again, like something similar.
Yeah, I didn't notice this on my first watch, but like my second one, I saw the guy in the not pigeon, in the peacock outfit, like just watching through the window.
Yeah, that was so creepy when I
Yeah.
noticed. Yeah, that's just
Like it's
I never
just
even noticed that.
yeah,
Never
it's
even
just
noticed.
sometimes. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, I wasn't saying anything. I just said I never noticed that before. Yeah.
Sometimes this show just goes places.
Yeah, I think we covered all of Swap and Sensibility. I guess PC, any final thoughts?
I would say I do love this episode. I've sung its praises more than enough. I do kind of feel like the ending is a little weak.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of it, but it definitely kind of I don't know. I just the ending definitely felt like the most kids show part of it.
Right. Yeah, it felt a little clean, but that's yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. It was just it was what it was, you know.
Right. Impact. What were your thoughts? Any final thoughts? I guess on Swamp and Sensibility.
I guess my final thoughts are kind of the same as they were at the beginning. I love this episode. It's a really fun role reversal. I think the more I think, there's a lot of like background details you guys mentioned I never even noticed, to be honest. So that was really cool to figure out. And yeah, I love this episode. I love that it's a role reversal of Wally and Anne. That's really fun. And yeah, this episode's great.
All right, thank you, Impact. Nick, final thoughts?
Thought it was a really great episode, and like I keep forgetting how much I enjoy Wally and Ant's dynamic, and like it's episodes like these that just refresh my mind, like just how great it is. And yeah, I don't know like how much of a chance there is for another episode between these two, but like, I kind of hope there is one in season 3.
All right, thank you, Nick. So yeah, I think we'll go into Wax Museum. So, the episode was written by Geneva Mai, storyboards by Nat Maher and Drew Applegate, and directed by Jen Strickland. So the players come to a new town. Anne uses her oddness or her status as a beast in this world to get some money as a freak. That's when she learns about this oddities museum, or the Curiosity Hut, as it's called, and she meets the planners and Anne meet the curator of this shop, and he's collected all these weird artifacts around Amphibia, all the weird stuff. And then Anne notices there's a skip man, something from Earth, and he's not going to sell it until Anne decides to reveal herself as the freak she is, and they make a deal where to come back later tonight and sort out the details of Anne being like his attraction for the day. The planners are totally against this idea, but Anne decides to do this while they're asleep. She heads back, and eventually we find out that like the curator plans on encasing her in wax, like the other exhibits. And yeah, eventually like the planners come to her rescue. They defeat the curator, and they free all the other creatures that were in wax, and that's how they get rid of the curator. And the episode ends with Anne kind of learning that she shouldn't have gone in alone, and her and the planners work together better as a team. And but luckily they were able to grab the skip man too, and the episode ends with them all like looking forward to the rest of their journey to Newtopia. And that was Wax Museum. And as you could tell by that like quick recap, I avoided every Gravity Falls reference I could have made.
Howard.
No, because like I tried to look at this episode as like an Amphibia episode first, and then a Gravity Falls homage second. And I think that's how you should look at this episode, like when you go into it.
I mean, I get that, but also that's so hard considering what this episode has in store.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's all. I think this was like a terrific episode. Like, not only as like a Gravity Falls homage on its own, but like I really liked how how vital they. Skipman on its own gave us like a lot of speculation for months, and I think that's true to Gravity Falls.
Well,
the threads.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I think I've said enough for now. I guess starting with Nick. What were your thoughts on Wax Museum?
I mean, here's the thing. I'm not like I'm gonna be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of this episode. Like, I know it's really beloved because it brought like the beloved franchise that is Gravity Falls and gave it a crossover for 30. But like, I don't know, just a crossover episode. I just felt kind of bored by it. First watch, bored by it. I tried to check it out again, just bored by it, and again bored by it. It's just, I guess, just for me, this was the way they were gonna have Gravity Falls and Amphibia cross over. Like, this just feels like such. It just feels like the one of the least interesting ways they could have done it. I mean, like they basically take. I hate to be mean. I hate to be mean, but it's like I don't know. It just feels like if this is how they're gonna cross over Gravity Falls, they just. I'm being mean, but I don't know. It's just they give us a flanderized version of Grunkle Stan, and then they just show off some. I mean, I guess they have Frog Soos, and they just show off like some nice little homage. I don't know if you even call it a homage, like a nice little Easter eggs, I guess, to some creatures we encounter in Gravity Falls. But it's just, I don't know. I just wasn't interested in it. Like it was just the curator, like his interactions with Van. I guess when he wasn't acting like a crazy villain, it was kind of interesting to see these two talk. But like, yeah, most of the time I was just like, yeah, this is how I don't know. This is I don't want to toss away and just call it mid, but like, yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't that entertained by this episode at all.
All right, thank you, Nick.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I asked Nick to go first.
Yeah. I'll let you guys sing. You can sing the praises for this episode after me. Go ahead.
So, Impact. What were your thoughts on this segment?
So, like, this is really interesting because when I was watching this on Disney Plus, my first watch, Drew, I had no clue this was gonna be a Gravity Falls like episode at all. So when watching it, I'm like, wait, that kind of looks like the Mystery Shack. That's there's no way. They're not gonna. And then as I saw more and more, like, oh, they totally are, dude. That's crazy. So like, because I love Gravity Falls, it's a great show, and it's like I really like this episode. I have a lot of fun with it, probably because I'm a big Gravity Falls fan. So like, I'm gonna be a little bit more forgiving. But this episode was fun. I liked Ann in this episode. The curator was great too. The nods to Gravity Falls was really fun. I really like this episode. It's just really fun to come back to, and it was such a great surprise when I was first watching the show. So yeah, I think this episode's fantastic. I love it.
All right, thank you, Impact. PC, what were your thoughts on Wax Museum?
I mean, for all the memeing I've been doing leading up to this podcast, I enjoyed it. Probably, I think partially because I was not expecting it to like be a proper crossover. It like is a crossover episode, but it's not a crossover episode, if that makes sense. Like, it's not the actual characters interacting with each other. It's I don't know how to properly describe it. I was not expecting to see the actual Grunkle Stan in frog form. I was expecting to just see the frog version of Grunkle Stan, which sounds like it's splitting hairs, and admittedly is splitting. I know I'm splitting hairs, but it did not bother me that Grunkle Stan was, I guess, different than how we remembered him. As for the episode itself, I'm mixed on it personally. I did enjoy it, but the thing is, and this is why it's so hard to talk about this episode, is that I have to think to myself, would I be enjoying this episode as much if it wasn't a big Gravity Falls homage? And the thing is, I don't know, because it's so hard to separate this episode from its Gravity Falls-ness. But like, when I think about this episode, I have to think to myself, if there was no Grunkle Stan, if it was just a frog running a weird museum with no references, would I enjoy this episode as much? And I think the answer to that is probably not as much. So while I enjoyed the episode, I I do see the flaws with it.
All right. Thank you, PC.
Yeah,
So
plus
I guess
I'll, talk. I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
we can. I was gonna just start talking about the beginning of the segment where there's the least amount of Gravity Falls references, and it's
Yeah, that's
basically.
fair.
And I like how Hop Hop brings up the fact that they're broke, and also this town is called Stony Gulch, and
Yeah, at least this time it wasn't messing with Anne. Like last time, Jesus Christ, laughed in her face because she thought they were in real trouble. Remember that thought?
wait, what? Repeat that.
What?
Like, what was the episode called? Like Hunter Ann, like right? Like, or it was Ann Hunter.
On
But you just remember that one little scene? Yeah, that one little scene where like Haba basically tells them that they're gonna starve because they have no food, and then when she panics, he just laughs in her face.
Oh.
So they can just go hunting. I'm like, yeah. At least this time he didn't trick her.
Yeah, they're yeah, that's true. Like they can't hunt for money in this case. But then I like how uh yeah, the window shopping joke, and I like how Hop Up has an IOU and a driver's license in his wallet. I just thought like the picture, like it's so quick, but I just love Hop Pop's expression in that.
He looks so dumb.
I mean, that's relatable too, with a bad license
Yeah, it is.
photo.
Yeah.
But yeah, Anne takes off her hoodie because she was probably trying to keep a low profile, and I mean, this is me. This probably wasn't intentional. It was probably made just for the setup of the episode, but I would headcanon it as after hearing all those like insults in Ribbitvale, and just kept the hoodie up to avoid all that.
Yeah, I guess it does explain why it was never a problem before. Like, yeah, I just felt it was like a really kind of a weird way to open up the episode. Just the idea that suddenly she has to like hide herself away from people when she's just been exposing herself to whoever she came across before. Like, but I'm just not gonna think. I'll just use what you just said though.
Yeah, it was definitely done just for like the reveal later on in this segment. But yeah, that was just me rationalizing in. I like how Anne does like her weird. I like how when once she like does the nose thing and gets some money, and Anne looks back at the planners and Polly's just yells, "Milk it!"
Yeah, Polly's great in this episode too.
Yeah, I loved all her moments in this segment, and yeah, they start throwing money at her, and that's when the townsfolk here mention the oddities museum or something, and then Anne tries to make like a joke about like weird stuff in Amphibia, but like of course like that joke doesn't land with this crowd. And I like the joke where she says to stick to like physical comedy.
Yeah, that's a good bit.
Yeah, so it's like around the evening time. It implies that they spent the whole day and spent the whole day like collecting money doing this act, and they decide how to spend it. And Hop Hop kind of warns Anne about like drawing too much attention to herself. And yeah, we already talked about it earlier. It's kind of odd that Anne has to suddenly hide herself now, but that's just something we had to accept. So they come to the Curiosity Hut, and like Hop Hop lets Anne spend the money the way she wants it, cause since she earned it. And And I really like how the moment you walk in, like the moment Anne steps foot into the Curiosity Hut, uh, big props to TJ Hill for recreating like that the Mystery Shack like theme. Like I could like I played it back earlier today like with the Gravity Falls like with the first episode, and it's the same like it's the same music except like slightly altered for this episode. And that's like such a like a nice like minor detail.
Yeah, I think I'll be honest, I did not realize that, but I'm not surprised. The music in the music in this show is consistently top notch, and I'm really glad they were able to fit that in.
Yeah, I just love the fact that they used TJ Hill a lot more for the second season because I know I'm like season one is like really, 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 really underutilized. There are a ton of bangers for season 2 and season 3.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I just like it just it's like a small detail, but it just really like it really sets the like the feeling that like this is like where the crossovers not crossover, the homage is happening. And
There you go.
yeah, we get that view of like Bill on the carpet and all these attractions hung up, and it's a really creepy like it's a really creepy but interesting like interior, and of course the planners are kind of freaked out by it, and they're like I love how like terrified they are, and Anne's just making fun of them along the way. And then I like how when they encounter the curator, like they call him like a like she calls him a hot mess, and he's just like I just love like yeah, the curator is Mr. Pons, voiced by Alex Hirsch, and he has the Grunkle Stan outfit, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
it's
mean
yeah
there is no question what is going on here.
yeah, and yeah, he explains some of the attractions, and then this is when we discover the Skip Man. Like
Oh yeah.
yeah, so I remember like I think we except for Impact, I know like PC and Nick, like we remembered like all the wild,
Mhm.
wild
Yeah,
speculation.
Wow, yeah,
like
I
I
think few things have inspired as much rampant, kind of baseless speculation as the Skit Man.
I just remember once when I tried to connect it to like that one. It's kind of like off topic and weird, but like I know in the shut in, like in the first story, there was that kid who got trapped by that creature. I think they said about like 30 or 40 years ago. And I try to like connect that to the Skip Man because like I think apparently it came out in the 70s. So I was trying to think like okay, like this show takes place in the 2010s. So 40 years ago, places in the 70s. But yeah, yeah, those are the type of theories that this whole subplot of the Skip Man created, pretty much. Like, and this is the fact that like the show never doesn't bring it up for like pretty much a whole last season, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
the show just completely ignores it for a whole season. I mean, all these theories just for the show to like. Also, yeah, I think this. I think like the reveal is satisfying, but it's just funny that it was so simple compared to all the crazy stuff we came up with.
Yeah, there was just countless theories, ranging from like maybe Anne's parents got trapped in Amphibia to I remember that one. That was a real one. That one was nuts. But ranging all the way to like God, I don't even remember. Uh
Like
there was
this isn't the first time like a trio of people were teleported to Amphibia.
yeah, exactly.
and then also like people try tying this back to Marcy, but then like as the season went on, it never it was never brought up. So we are thinking like, okay, I guess if it's not hers, then what's going on?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
I could see why you would make that connection though with the curator finds it in Utopia, which we still kind of don't get. I mean, we know where it came from now, but like, why specifically was it in Utopia though? That's the only thing that I didn't really get. I guess it's because Marcy teleported to Newtopia, but just I don't know how that worked.
It was just sucked through a random portal that happened to be in Utopia.
Yeah, I don't know. I think be a little bigger than that. I don't know. Like, kind of felt like the Skip Man. Like when I first watched the episode, I swore down that was gonna be like not the biggest, craziest thing, but I don't know. I thought it'd be like a little bigger than what we got. Like it's okay. Like it is important. Like obviously, like the Skip Man is like, oh, like it kind of connects to how we're gonna get back to Amphibia. Okay, cool. But I don't know. You kind of could have made the Skip Man literally anything. Like if you really wanted to, like you could have made it like, okay, well, not a bag of chips, but something like that was like relatively small, and you would have like it didn't need to be the Skip Man. You know what I mean?
I guess my counter to that is why not the Skip Man?
Well, okay.
Like yeah, it could be anything. So why not this?
I don't know. I don't have a counter to that. I don't know. I just thought like the object itself would have been more important, but it's more about like where the object came from, and like that's really it. I don't know. I thought there'd be something a bit more to it. I'm not mad about it. I'm just like I kind of felt like the same way how I felt about After the Rain when Hop like didn't really know anything about the box. I swore down there was going to be something more to that when I was first watching the show, but then it wasn't. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess. All right. So yeah.
All right. Well, that is a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess
I can sense Thumb's anger rising.
nah, it's not anger. It's righteous fury. But
no,
I guess the Skip Man. I think the rampant speculation for the Skip Man and then the resolution we got, I think is very much in the
spirit of the show.
In the spirit of Amphibia and Gravity Falls, of like
that's true. Yeah,
because that's. I don't know. I just felt really satisfied. I mean, plus, I mean, it's not like I mean, it's connected to Dr. Frakes, and obviously that's going to lead to something huge. Like that's going to be their way of getting back to Amphibia. So like, yeah, I think it's still ended up leading to something pretty big. Even so, like, it's wow. Yeah, it was never actually brought up after this episode again. Like they never explicitly said it. They just showed us who's the owner of it, pretty much. Like, like it was like a one and done thing with this episode.
It's not even technically like if you want to go about it, it's technically still not mentioned. Yeah, you see it in like if you give a frog a cookie, but they never say the Skip Man like ever again. I think anyway, unless someone like can fact check me on that. I don't remember them mentioning it ever again after that point.
I mean, if we're talking about from a sorry, continue.
No, that's it. That's all I have to say.
If we're talking about it from a pure narrative standpoint, the Skip Man exists to establish that interdimensional travel outside of the girls is possible between the worlds in season 2.
Right, that's and then we eventually find out that it's like to like a lesser extent, and these were just like leaks that like pulled stuff in, and even go ahead, PC.
Well, no, but one thing that I think there was a lot of rampant speculation, and most of it was complete bogus. I came up with so many dumb theories, but one thing that all of the theories kind of revolved around was the idea that prior travel to and from Amphibia outside of the girls in the Calamity Box was possible. To the point that when we got to If You Give a Frog a Cookie, and we learned about the actual origin of the we learned about the actual origin of the Skitman, we didn't even question that Frakes had made an interdimensional portal. Like, the show primed us to speculate on this to the point where, like, imagine, like, if you think about it out loud, the idea of just a scientist coming up with interdimensional travel sounds kind of contrived, you know? Like, oh, if only there was a way to travel the dimensions. Oh, look, this crazy scientist, unrelated to anybody, figured it out. Like, on the surface, that's contrived. But because we were so primed to speculate on interdimensional travel outside of the girls, we weren't even that surprised when we learned about Dr. Frakes.
Right, and I think that's what Amphibia does so well. I think this kind of reminds me of the case with Frobo, in terms of, like, it's not the reveal that's important. It's like what they were meant to establish to help, like, advance the show later on down the line, and, like, and be that bridge for us, that, like, just to make it more, like, palpable, if I'm using that word right.
Palatable, yeah.
Palatable.
Like imagine True Colors and the reveal that there are automated robot factories if we didn't have Frobo.
Or even Fort in the Road, yeah.
Yeah, or just Fort in the Road. Like, there's a lot of stuff in Season 2, like the Skitman, like Frobo, that are generally considered... A lot of people consider them kind of a waste of potential because they didn't really go as far as they could have. And on one hand, I get that, but on the other hand, well, like what Thumb said, it primed us, and it made it palatable for these giant revelations to the point where we don't even question it.
Exactly, yeah.
I think one thing that does help. Oh, I was gonna say I think the one thing that does help it too with the Skitman in general, when we get that reveal, is that it still is connected to the Calamity Box in some way. The shockwave from the box allows a portal to actually open. I think that also made me believe it a lot more. Like, oh, okay, they didn't really, like, Dr. Franks didn't just do it just because. It's connected to some point in the story that we already know from the box itself. So it kind of gave me like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It didn't just come out of nowhere. It's still connected to the main plot in some way, shape, or form. So I think that's what made me believe it a lot more at the time. So yeah.
Yeah, that too, for sure. It's not just one thing. They do a lot to make their twists kind of believable.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you guys on, like, the Dr. Frakes stuff. Like, I mean, you guys already know my attitude on Frobo. It's just, I don't know, because I feel like with Frobo, I mean, like, weren't there already, like, several other things that would have made us sort of believe in the idea of this huge technological side of Amphibia? I mean, we have the core revealed in the first temple. Then, like, did we even need to? I mean, honestly, I think including Frobo in the show is still like a good decision for Polly. But, like, I don't know. I mean, like, we have the Frobo factories, and we have that giant supercomputer that showed us this crazy side of Amphibia. So, like, I completely believe the Dr. Frakes stuff, but I don't know. I guess I'm just not, like, fully convinced on Frobo yet.
Ah, well, you see, Nick, the reason why Frobo exists is to prime us for the fact that Frobos have souls, and will therefore rebel against Andreas in the finale.
PC, you're acting like this. You're acting like that theory is fringe, even though we all kind of, like, agreed with you at the time.
Yeah, I know. I like to be the crazy theorist, but yeah, I will admit Frobo in season 2 did feel underused, but we're on a full tangent.
Yeah,
now.
I was about to.
I forgot what
but
oh
anyway.
yeah, we totally.
Yeah, what actually
but yeah, I liked how the Skitman was set up in this segment. And
Yeah.
so Anne agrees to the curator's proposal, and we get that quick scene with Frog Soos talking about alternate realities with their similar self, and that's that meta humor. And
It's that joke that makes me kind of like, I can't really remove Gravity Falls out this episode. It's just impossible. It's like you literally have a character named Frog Soos, dude. Like you can't
It's a little on the nose.
Yeah, it's hard for me to critique this episode with being like, well, like if you didn't care about Gravity Falls and you won't like it, well, I mean,
I think
might be true. I don't know. It's hard for me to remove its influence in this episode and not critique it with that in mind. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%. The best way to critique this episode would be to find someone who didn't know what Gravity Falls is, and like have them watch all of Amphibia to like get their feelings on this episode. Because like, as much as I want to, I can't separate Gravity Falls from it. It's so entwined. Yeah. Like, are these jokes funny if you haven't watched Gravity Falls?
Yeah, we gotta find the fandom needs to find someone just to like
someone's been
to test this hypothesis.
No, maybe like an Avatar fan has been in a coma since the show.
Yeah. To all of our listeners out there, find the one person who hasn't watched Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Anne tells the planners about the deal she made. The planners are all kind of like the planners don't agree with this decision, and then of course Anne does that smug face and sneaks out in the middle of the night.
Smug face.
The smug face. It.
Yeah, no, that yeah, that was really funny.
It's so like.
It's
uncanny.
I swear I have it.
I like the faces in this episode, but now that we're at Anne sneaking out, I will say, while I did defend the Skitman part, this is probably my least favorite part of this is like where I actually have a problem with the episode, where, to me at least, Anne sneaking out to do something like this feels like season 1 Anne and not season 2 Anne.
Yeah, because I think they played a little too hard on the humor side of it. Like, right? Like they just wanted to make a huge joke out of Anne being sneaky and stuff. And I feel like that would have worked in season 1. But here, I guess, maybe she needs like a little more guilt, like a little more like hesitance. You know what I mean? Like, instead of just going 100% into like sneaking around the planters.
I don't.
Yeah.
Like.
Continue.
Oh, sorry. I don't think the problem was that like I think if Anne was less like if the scene was played as like less comedic and more determined from Anne's side, then I'd enjoy this a lot more, because like imagine being Anne and then finding something from Earth that I'm guessing from her point of view, she's like 100% sure Marcy didn't have this and Sasha didn't have this. This is like probably like a really big like revelation for her, and if Anne treated that as such, then I would have liked this moment a lot more, and like why she was willing to go behind the planner's back and sneak back into the Curiosity Hut.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Like,
pretty honest. Yeah.
I'll defend the Skitman, but this is where I actually do have problems with this episode. And it's especially egregious because, I mean, I gushed for like 5 minutes about the last episode showing such a clear, continuous arc of Anne's character. And then we just kind of get this, which feels like a regression.
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't say it's like it didn't take me out of the episode, but yeah, like looking
Yeah, I
back, like
mean,
I wish it was done a little bit differently. I think that would have like enhanced the whole part with like, the where the planners come back to rescue her a lot better, and also what they like tell her at the end. And
I can see that for sure. I think like for me, I didn't mind this part too much. I can see what you guys mean that it's a regression of Anne's character. I still feel like Anne would no, I see what you guys mean. I think they definitely could have played it off as a little less comedic, but it didn't really bother me that much in this episode, in my opinion. I don't know. I
Yeah.
still feel like Anne would do something like that in a comedic way. I feel like season 2 Anne is sort of weird. She's sort of like she's in that weird like middle ground from season 1 and season 3. Well, literally when season 2. But like where like I feel like she can totally mess around like in Fort in the Road, I think. Yeah, the second
Yeah.
episode. Yeah. Or the first episode. Like he goes behind Hot Pop's back and just does this stupid plan with Sprig, because why not? You know? And it's like I feel like I can see Anne doing something like that in this season, but I can see what you guys mean. It's a little bit of regression, but I think they're at that point where like they're not far enough with Anne where I think they can play that. I think they can play with that route a little bit, in my opinion. So it didn't bother me too much, but I see what you guys mean by that
Yeah.
for sure.
yeah,
I
that's
think
fair.
I think the threshold is probably going to be different for each person.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like a hard and fast answer of is this in character for Anne. It really just depends on how each person looks at it.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
And,
Yeah,
and
I think. Oh, go ahead.
oh,
no,
go ahead,
I
Ed.
do agree that Anne would sneak out. It was just the way it was executed didn't quite click with me.
Yeah, I think for me, ultimately, it just feels like a scene that just tries to plan the humor like a little too much.
That being said, once she gets to the Mystery Shack, I don't really have any more problems with Anne's characterization.
You mean the Curiosity
Yeah.
Hut?
Sorry, once she gets to the Curiosity Hut.
The curiosity. I mean, I would say it.
Okay, so like yeah, Anne goes inside and like there's not much I can talk about here. Like yeah, like the curator pretty much just traps Anne and kind of just realizes what's going on. She's not like I like how calmly she took it, especially until like when she's like hard on herself and like the curator is like kind of like comforting in a weird way. And I'm pretty sure Matt or Alex mentioned that like a lot of these lines were improv'd, and yeah, I can see like I can see it here, and I'm trying to. I have some thoughts, but I'll probably talk about them later because it's maybe more Gravity Falls related. Uh oh, and also this is where the curator makes like this is where he reveals that like everything is coated with wax and is actually real. He just he's just using them as his attractions, and now Anne's gonna be the attraction, the next attraction.
I think honestly, I think they still did a really good job of making the Curiosity Hut, there we go, having their own like mystery shack in Amphibia. I think that it was very clever because they didn't like straight up just put like well, like I mean, I guess they kind of did with the gnomes. But like they didn't just straight up like, yo, let's just put the mystery shack and dump it there and then let's see what happens. They did that, but like in a unique way. They amphibified it. There we go. The best way I can put
Yeah.
it. Um, and I think like yeah, I always like that. It makes it so then it feels like it's still a part of the show without getting you completely out of it, but you still know what it's homaging at the end of it. So I think they did a great job with that. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and then of course like those I love I love that those frames of Hop Hop like swallowing Sprig's action figures and that like look of disgust. And like the first thing is like his first thought is to immediately blame Sprig for it, and then that's when he finds out Anne's gone. And they immediately know she went back to the museum, and that's when like the players immediately like go out to get her. And the one thing that kind of bothered me was that like maybe because I'm so used to like Polly being like extremely violent that I thought she'd be like down to like I thought she'd be down the most for like breaking and entering and to rescue Anne, but like Hop Hop kind of had to like drag her along because she was like afraid of like all the wax creatures.
Yeah, well, like, honestly, that led us to a lot of funny scenes. Like, I just really like the one moment she has with that, like, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't even know how to get it. But you guys know what I mean. Like, and it's just one part. Like, what does she do? Like, she tries to get into like a staring contest with it or something, right? And then its eyes move, and she gets freaked out. Like, that was great.
Oh right,
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that earlier. Like earlier in the segment, like that creature like stares at Polly the first time, and that's what freaks her out. Like that's why she was like so fixated on like the staring
Yeah.
contest in the second time. Yeah, so they enter the hut to look for Anne, and then like yeah, and then meanwhile like Anne's like slowly getting like covered in wax, and that's when Mr. Pons brings up like he got the Skipman from Utopia, and we discussed that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no time for a distraction by Sprig and Hop Hop, so they just charge in, and immediately the curator is just he thought they were cops. I love that joke. And
Oh yeah, that one's
You're not
hilarious.
taking me to Frog
Frog
Prison.
Prison.
Yeah, I don't know why that line always gets me every time in that episode. It's great.
And yeah, that's then when Polly like melts that creature, then like Hop Hop and Sprig melt the other creatures, and they all pretty much gang up on the curator. And then we get that he gets dragged off to the storage closet. He makes that like the percentage joke, and then you see the red liquid come out from underneath the door.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit that was really funny.
Yeah, and I like how the curator. I like how they immediately say it's like wax, just so S&P can approve it, I guess.
Yeah. I think one thing to go back a little bit, I think I love that Sprig and Hop Hop just run towards the curator. Like I feel like in most cartoons, you'd have like the characters make this elaborate plan, and then they would like try to not get seen or whatever and get Anne out. It's not like that. They don't have any more time in the episode. Forget it. Just go. Sprig and Hop Hop just run towards
Yeah, like
the curator.
They just went for it.
yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
for the frame of like Sprig just running at the curator. It was pretty funny. Like, oh, I got it.
And it just doesn't
Yeah.
work either. He just completely screws up. It's only thanks to Polly.
Oh, he even does the Muppet face. Yeah, Polly saved the day. Actually, you're right about that. Polly did save the day.
Yeah, they would have
Wow.
been screwed without her this episode, honestly. So yeah.
No, it was just like Hop Pop, Sprig, and Ann getting themselves screwed, and then like Polly comes in the last minute to save everything.
Yeah, and there's not much to talk about those creatures in the wax, like other than maybe we recognize the the love doves, and then
Yeah.
of course there's like the shmebula, the gnomes, or I guess frog gnomes in this case. Another Gravity Falls reference. And
The we do mention the bug ball though with the I forget what the mantis whatever thing or
Yeah,
whatever.
the mantis that plays air bug. That's it.
Oh, it's not bug ball. Oh, damn it.
no, like
No,
that's the
no,
name of the sport.
it,
But
Oh, okay.
Just like
the
he was holding a basketball. Like he wasn't
it's
even holding
like
like an
air
actual like.
bud. It's like air bud,
and it's like
but air
Disney.
bug.
It's
Oh,
like with the dogs. It's I think they're a bunch
Yeah,
of Disney original movies, right?
a bunch of animals that aren't supposed to play basketball playing basketball.
oh,
But yeah, air bud or air bug in this case is the joke I believe that is going on.
Yeah.
gotcha.
And yeah, curator's taken out. They grab Anne and they rescue her. And I guess what I really liked about it cuts to the sunrise and Anne's getting melted, and luckily Sprig got the Skip Man, and they get Hop Hop gives her the talk about like you shouldn't. I like how it's not. Hop Hop does tell Anne that she was supposed to keep a low profile, and I like how he says that she shouldn't go into danger without them. So it's like he knows they're gonna get into all these like wacky adventures. He just wants to make sure like they're all together. I kind of like how like that was the focus. Or that was like the main point he was trying to get across, not just like, oh, you shouldn't be doing all this stuff. Like you shouldn't be getting into. Actually, I'm not wording it well. He knows they're going to get into trouble or get into adventures. He just wants to make sure that they're all like all together and not separated when it happens. Because like we saw in this episode, because we get a lot of episodes where Anne does something dumb and then like she has to like rescue the planners or get the planners out of the situation that she got them all in. But here it's very much like she got herself into trouble and she has to rely on the planners to save her. And it doesn't usually happen. Like Anne usually saves the planners for a lot of stuff, but the planners don't usually save Anne as often. So I kind of like it when it happens. Like same thing with Quarler's Pass, but not Quarler's Pass. Truck Stop Polly, but at least that was just Polly. I like how like the whole planner family had to. It gave them a chance to like. It gave them a chance to help, like to show that like they are also. They're pretty much Anne's support system, I guess.
I gotta think about that because, like, I guess that's a good point. I feel like the only time I can remember the planters really being like that big, like, ally. Well, obviously they always are, but like as a whole, like family kind of
Like
thing,
this, the hero.
saving and yeah, like I guess. Nah, I'm not sure if Fight at the Museum counts with the the trap they make with trying to like fight off Cloakbot or whatever. I don't know if that counts,
That was more
but
of a
that was
team
technically
effort.
the yeah. Um, yeah, I gotta think about that. That actually might be a really good point. I never thought about like, that's a good point. Okay.
And like later we'll see like Anne gets like the power boosts and she's able to like take on like greater threats on her own. But at least here it's like it's nice to see that like Anne like still like relies on the planners for help. And usually it's like
Yeah.
it's usually emotional support, but here it's like one of the few instances where it's like actual literal. She needs the whole family to come together and like get her out of there. I don't know. That's just it's like a minor thing that I enjoyed.
Yeah, because that's
Hmm.
mentioned like a little bit in like Hop. Like you don't see it, but like it's mentioned quite a bit in like Hop Till You Drop. Like the planters always had to like save Anne when she was in trouble. Anne just never really realized it when she was an amphibia. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice to see that here.
I can hear Nick. I can hear Nick's brain
No.
enjoying
How's
Wax
Faye doing?
Museum a little bit more because of that
Oh,
observation.
no, not really.
No!
Observation. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I really want to enjoy the episode, just like I can say more about it, but it's just like I'm just listening to you guys talk, which is
I
good
mean,
enough on its own.
come on, you had to feel something when Sprig and the planners like were facing the horizon, ready for like what comes next, and that kind of gave me the feeling that like we knew that the very next episode was Marcy at the gates. So this was basically like the end of the road trip. And I kind of like
I-
and I kind of like how they like cuz we don't get that same kind of like heroic pose staring off into the horizon unless it's for like a very important moment. And I don't know, I kind of I felt it. Like I felt that we've reached the end of the road trip and then the next episode was pretty much the transition.
I mean, I get what you mean, but if I'm being honest, I just felt kind of disappointed that we went out on an episode like this. Like, this is the end of the road trip, like Wax Museum. Like, I was
Damn.
just. It's a great scene. Hey, don't get me wrong. It's a great scene at the end. I like the idea that it has to learn to rely more on the planters, but like, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of this episode. It's just. I think I think it's because I have a different idea of what Gravity Falls is compared to like I guess a lot of people. So when they so I guess it's
Nick. I'm sorry,
No,
Nick.
no, I'm not going into it. I'm just saying like an homage like this. I don't know. I guess for me, it's not enough just to see like the Mystery Shack and like a shitpost version of Grunkle Stan for me to feel like this is Gravity Falls. If I'm being honest, like I feel like I need a little more than that. Like I need something different than that. Like that's why I'm just like not that entertaining.
I think this is
Nick,
good.
Nick, not to get too far into it, Grunkle Stan literally did this in Gravity Falls.
Okay,
This
yeah,
is not in Canada. I know, Gene, but that's not canon.
that's what I'm about to say. Wait.
That was
Okay,
not canon.
I think we've covered most of Wax Museum, right? Can we like go more into the, I guess the homage part of this?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I think that's fine.
I think one thing. Sorry, just one thing I wanted to mention before we go to that. Wait, so since we never used the Skip Man ever again, right? The
Right.
Sprig getting the Skip Man was completely pointless, right? Like the only thing we needed to know, the audience needed to know the Skip Man existed. Anne doesn't really need it, does she? It is kind of like, yeah.
I mean, Anne. Isn't Anne? I mean, if it isn't the Skip Man not really being that helpful for Anne kind of the point? Like,
I guess that's true. Yeah.
like isn't the point that it's not worth the risk?
I guess the show.
Yeah.
The show, like they introduced this in season 2. They reminded us of this again in season 3. So I wouldn't completely write it off just yet. Like maybe it does. Like maybe there's still a chance for it to like come back into play. Maybe not for like not for something dramatic, but just like another appearance from it, just to.
I mean, who knows? Maybe Anne gives Sprig the Skip Man at when they leave. I don't know.
Or
there is stuff.
Or
but
I think it's okay what it ended up being. I mean, it's just a cool way to show how that might have like landed in Amphibia.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be nice if they gave the Skip Man back to Dr. Frakes, and then she becomes kind of like
that lunatic.
And she becomes like an ally.
She tried to kill the.
She gets redeemed.
All she needs.
But Sasha also tried to kill the planners twice. Exactly. Like it's.
She was like, I felt my soul leave my body when I lost this Skip Man. Like I haven't been the same since ever since I lost this one. That'd be hilarious.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just me like throwing a weird theory out there, but yeah, like I guess we covered Impact's question about that, and I guess when Nick was talking about these like his thoughts on this homage and how it's like we get this like sleazy version of Grunkle Stan, and then like PC, you rightfully like brought up how that's basically who Grunkle Stan was. And I think what I like it's not intentional, but I like how this homage showed what Gravity Falls was without Dipper and Mabel. And this is like what it kind of makes sense because we weren't the only reason we like kind of like got attached to Grunkle Stan was because he's like the kid's caretaker. And like I'm sure like we would still like him for like the jokes and stuff, but that's how we like really got attached to him. And then this whole homage doesn't have like Dipper and Mabel, so it kind of Gravity Falls was like a coming of age story. Like you can call it a mystery and stuff, and it's true, but like first and foremost, it was a coming of age story, and that's why Dipper was literally pining for Wendy for a quarter of the season. And yeah, like I got why, even though it was kind of it didn't always didn't like no, it made sense. It made sense why that happened, but that's not the kind of show Amphibia was. So you can't really have that same. You can't just copy and paste that feeling into Amphibia because Amphibia has its own like themes and whatnot. So I kind of liked how like the Curiosity Hunt, all that stuff was just basically Gravity Falls without like the heart and soul, and then without that, it's easier to incorporate Amphibia's like show and tone into this this homage. And I think that's why I was able to like at the very beginning when we found out like about this like Gravity Falls. Disney tried the best they could to like label this a crossover. Even their like promos back when like Disney actually did promos for Amphibia, like they called this a crossover, and like I think we all immediately could tell it's like no, it's not
No.
that. If
It's
it
an
was a proper crossover,
Yeah.
I think I would have liked this episode less.
Agreed.
Because I'm not a fan. I wouldn't be a fan of kind of if this was a crossover, then the focus would be more on Gravity Falls than Amphibia. So at least with the homage, it still gives the people what they want. And you know, we probably had years of people like going, not years, maybe 1 year that Amphibia was like on hiatus and aired season 1, about people making all these connections to Gravity Falls and oh, there's a book with that looks like Journal Number 3, and this homage kind of satisfied some people's appetite for more Gravity Falls without actually like giving them something like a lesser product. And then from here on out, every time someone wants something a little like Gravity Falls reference, we can just point to Wax Museum, and then we can just send all the people who wanted that Gravity Falls references. We can just send them over here and just let them enjoy their little corner while we discuss important matters at hand.
That's a lot different. That's a lot different. I mean, the way I view it is that, I mean, the main reason why I feel like there's an homage, and why I'm glad there's a Gravity Falls homage, is because Amphibia very much owes its existence to Gravity Falls. Like, if Gravity Falls didn't exist, Amphibia wouldn't exist. Because that's where Matt like got to where he is.
Yeah, that was Matt's start on. I think he boarded Steven Universe before this, or was it after or during?
Yeah, he did. He like Matt. It was not Matt's first gig, but like they are intrinsically linked just behind the scenes. in my personal opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I listened to a couple of like the first 5 episodes of like the commentary tracks of the Amphibia season 1, and they kind of mentioned how like a lot of people on the show like at the time were like it was their first time doing anything, not doing anything, first time like working on a show, like, and they were like really reliant on like their consultants like Rob Renzetti, who worked on
Yeah.
My Life as a Teenage Robot and other shows, like, and I liked how not Amphibia, Gravity Falls was like something like really like it was lightning in a bottle kind in a way, and it was like
It
and
absolutely
it was
was.
Yeah.
and it was super
Yeah,
like
hands down.
yeah, it was like all this energy, and like looking back, it seems like Amphibia is like a much more like refined process compared to Gravity Falls
I think I know what you mean. Like, not like a refined version of Gravity Falls, but like,
in terms of structure and
yeah, like Gravity Falls definitely feels a lot more like chaotic,
yeah.
I guess is the word I would use.
Yeah, because I feel like there's like a lot more structure to like Amphibia compared to Gravity Falls in there. I mean, I know Alex wasn't like because I mean
Alex definitely planned ahead, but
yeah,
I would say that Matt definitely Matt has done a really good job constructing this show to be what it was, and he did it in a very different way than Alex did.
yeah. Because I feel like Amphibia has more setup. I mean, I think both shows have like a lot of setup, but I feel like Amphibia just has like more payoffs because it's just planned to have that. And I feel because I know with Gravity Falls, it wasn't like I think like the only actual mystery that was set up with Gravity Falls was just like the whole twist with like Stanford, right? Like if I'm getting that right, because
yeah.
I haven't like watched in a while, but like yeah. So I think yeah, I feel like that's sort of the difference between both shows. I mean, I know like Gravity Falls is like the mystery show, but like I just think like the way Amphibia handled itself and why I think like yeah, I really do think you're onto something when you call like a more like refined version of it. It's just yeah, it's sort of like I don't put this in like the least controversial way. I guess like it takes like what made Gravity Falls really good and just I think does it better in a way. I'd say.
That's not controversial.
I don't want to say completely, but like
I kind of I around this time in season 2, I was starting to like when I thought about it more, like I kind of I preferred the show more than Gravity Falls. Like this, I think this is like maybe I haven't watched enough Disney animated series, but like I do consider like Amphibia like my favorite one. And but I haven't watched Gargoyles, so like maybe that could change.
Fair enough. I would say I like Gravity Falls and Amphibia for different reasons, but I do still like Amphibia more just because I have a great respect for well-planned storylines, and I see lots of evidence of that in Amphibia. And I love Gravity Falls. I love Gravity Falls. But you could kind of tell they were flying by the seat of their pants sometimes, which I think is fine, and it's what gave Gravity Falls its magic, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you know, there is no such thing as a flawless show, Amphibia and Gravity Falls included.
yeah. I think with it too, yeah, because Gravity Falls kind of has this thing where like, okay, I'm not sure if I would call it episodic, but it kind of kinda in the sense of like its episodes are very self-contained. Like yeah, they still connect to a bigger whole, of course, with Gravity Falls, but like it is very easy to just jump into a Gravity Falls episode, watch it, enjoy it, in like some random in some random point, enjoy it because it was really good. You don't really have to watch the rest to enjoy it even more, kind of thing.
In fairness, you can say the same thing about a lot of Amphibia.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
I
like
think
that's
I think
Yeah.
in the sense
Oh,
of
go
like,
ahead.
oh, I was gonna say like in the sense of like, I don't know. I think Gravity Falls always had like, I think you guys are right. They kind of went off the seat of their pants a little bit with it, but like I think it worked for that show. Frankly, I think it
It
like
did.
made it
Yeah.
stronger just in general. Man, because it's hard for me to say which one I think is better. I really want to see Amphibia end before I make that
Yeah,
conclusion.
and I think
'Cause-
that's a big part of it. We are currently judging okay, not judging. We are currently drawing comparisons between a 2-season show that ended years ago and a 3-season show that hasn't ended yet.
exactly, yeah. Because it like a lot of Gravity Falls' biggest moments were really in that like second half, at least for me anyway, that second half of season two. So
Yep.
like Amphibia, like we're in the end game now. You know, we're getting to like a lot of bigger points for this story that are gonna like define like maybe how we think of other seasons too. So it's hard for me to say, but for me, Gravity Falls is always really fun because it's a fun like I watch it not every summer, but I watch it like usually in the summer here and there just for fun. It's an easy watch. It's just 2 seasons. There's only like what like 40 episodes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
There aren't
40.
that many episodes. Yeah, so it's very easy to just go in, watch it, have fun, and like that's really it. With Amphibia, like it's sort of the same way with that too. But again, I have to see how the story ends. I don't want to like make that conclusion just yet because I don't think 3B will mess it up or anything. But like, I still think 3B has a lot to do to make the whole show work, if you know what I mean. So yeah,
And I think Nick can talk about this point better. It's like I'm like super like grateful, like of course, of like the impact that I guess the groundwork that Gravity Falls laid for Amphibia. It just gets kind of frustrating when you see people like watch Amphibia like in the first season and kind of say like, oh, it doesn't have like the same kind of like continuity and story as Gravity Falls, and then like I'm remembering like watching Gravity Falls like and not getting it, like and like not getting what they meant by that. Like I think Nick, you can.
Yeah, it's just I don't even know what
Like,
to say. I mean, because like, let me say, I don't want to call Gravity Falls overrated. I don't think it's like I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's like just people speaking in like hyperbole. I feel like it's people genuinely remembering an entirely different show than the ones we actually watch. Like it's crazy to me. Just some of the statements that get attached to it. It's just I don't know. It's like I hopped over from like a parallel universe where I just had Gravity Falls, and now I'm like, now this is like something entirely different from what I grew up with. So I don't know, but I feel like what about okay, what I was about to say would be like it would be like a totally different topic, but like I don't know, it's just I feel like it's just the current animation community's weird stance of like this the type of storytelling that like shows like Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, Amphibia Star versus use, where it's like very chill episodes, and they'll just like suddenly throw us into like this huge, crazy, dramatic episode. I'm like, I don't know. I'm rambling now. I'm going on to like a bunch of different points, but like it's just confusing because Gravity Falls, it's sort of the exact same way as Amphibia, right? Just a bunch of different random episodic adventures, but with some continuity like laid underneath, right? Like we slowly built to something with Gideon. Like sure, he popped up here and there, but just for like I think maybe 2 or 3 episodes where he was like an actual villain. So I don't know. It's just weird because you just look towards Amphibia, like they do the exact same thing, and then you have people saying that these episodes are pointless. They don't really build into anything. It's I don't know. It's just confusing.
And what was I gonna mention? Like a lot of, I think what kind of left that mindset for people was because Gravity Falls is a mystery, and how it like laid a bunch of like crumbs for people to like uncover. It kind of helped like sustain that like level of like excitement, even for like a non, even for an episode that wasn't like too focused on the narrative. But it's just like looking back, it's like when you see people talk about Gravity Falls, they talk about it. They talk about the experience they had and not the show itself, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like as an as an
Yeah.
experience, like Gravity Falls is like excellent and like one of the very best like experiences you could have like watching a show as it aired. But then it's like after that, looking back and how many like all the decoding everything was like super fun and super interesting. But then it's like, how did that go back to the show itself? And like, are you gonna really use that to kind of, is that the standard you want to leave for like a bunch of other shows that aren't even a mystery focused show? Like like Amphibia is not like Amphibia does have its like own mysteries and its own secrets, but it's not it's not the same, it doesn't have the same focus as like the mystery as a mystery genre. It's not part of the mystery genre, so it's like it's that's not the focus, and that's what makes me appreciate those like secrets and other additional. It's more of a plus for me when we see those codes, like the Utopian ruins and whatever background details the show shows.
Yeah.
It doesn't Amphibia doesn't tease you. It kind of just shows you and lets you like do what you want with it, but then it still shows you it for like a very important reason. And it's not, because it's not a mystery like Gravity Falls, it doesn't like give out a bunch of red herrings and doesn't like throw you off. So like looking back, it's like, oh, the portal thing at the end of the intro in every episode wasn't it would that portal thing at the end of every Gravity Falls episode, it didn't really lead to anything significant.
Well,
And
I mean, I think part of it is
Hmm.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
oh, I was just trying to figure out like a way to, actually maybe that intro is a bad example because Amphibia has its own like last shot of the intro and we
Yeah.
don't know what that means yet. Like, so maybe I can't use that comparison yet. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that Amphibia, because it's not a mystery, it doesn't try to like lead you somewhere. It's mostly us just like taking what we see and running with it for as long as we can. Like First Temple, that ending, we just kind of, they didn't tease that to us like every episode. They just gave it to us in First Temple, and then we're smart enough to acknowledge that like True Colors didn't need to include the core again, and then they held off from that until Olivia and Yunnan.
Yeah, and it's like it's one of those things too where like when you see the core, you can't really you can't really connect the dots like of what it wants there. It's kind of just like there's the core, okay. Well, you don't even know what it is. We called it the night. Like
Holy
Yeah.
shit! Yeah, we just called it the night.
yeah, like there is no way to connect that dot like at all.
And I'm-
So
I think an important part of it is, I mean, they are two different genres of shows at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's why like I was trying to. But I feel like because Gravity Falls is a mystery, and like everyone was like always speculating, like once Gravity Falls ended, it's like everyone wanted to carry that energy somewhere else.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things too because Gravity Falls can kind of feel like more than I think for me, I think the reason why Gravity Falls has such like people remember the experience of it is because it feels kind of more than a show in the sense of you would do things outside of the show, like um
Yeah.
in the sense of like of all the mysteries and stuff. And it was like it's so different. It almost feels like its own little game, kind
Yeah,
of with it when you kind of figure it out. So
watching
yeah.
Gravity Falls as it was airing is an experience that can't be recreated.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's really right because I know like you guys run all the crazy hiatuses between episodes. Like it wasn't even just like they wouldn't just give you like 2 episodes. No, they would just like drop one episode and like make you wait
God,
either
I
like
remember.
2 weeks
Yeah.
or months for a new
Remember
episode. Like
I remember the hiatus after Not What He Seems.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
that was like
that
half a
was
year, I
brutal
think,
because
right?
like
Yeah,
yeah,
that was insane.
yeah,
We
but
were
that's
just
just
ah
yeah because that's why I feel like I don't know. Like I guess in a weird way, each episode sort of has like a special place in my heart. It's like I know I had to wait right we had an agonize we had to like wait. They weren't they weren't always super long, but like it was just I guess each episode felt like an event just because like I don't know, like you just have to wait a weird amount of time. You wouldn't know when it was actually coming because I don't think Disney even advertised it that well, right? They would just suddenly tell you, oh, hey, the new episode's here. So it's like I don't know. I guess
Yeah, you kind of had to search for when
yeah,
episode would come on, unless it was like the
yeah. It's just
premiere or mid-season
yeah.
premiere
I don't
when.
want to say it per. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it perfectly, but I guess it's just like yeah, each episode had like a special place in my heart, just because I don't know, like every time it came back, it just felt like a big event. You know?
And I think that kind of showed me like a lot of like the reception of like a show. Like not only is it like the quality of like the episode itself, but like a lot of people are shaped by like how it's presented to them. I think that's my main concern about Amphibia because it doesn't like
no, continue.
season 1 was like a bomb format. Season 2A was alongside the Owl House and we like know how like that got popular and like they were both airing at the same time. It's like it kind of it gets all blurred in the timeline for me and then like season 2B like we had it was a decent schedule. It was a decent schedule and then it all like led up to the leak.
God,
And
yeah.
then
Yeah,
and then 3A came back and then 3A 3A's mid-season finale got pushed back and we were had a lot of people talking about the quality of 3A and that was annoying as hell and then now
yeah, I thought it
and
was
then now
really
the show's
bad.
coming back in 2 weeks and it's alongside the Owl House again and like that's great if you like both like watching both but I don't really see an advantage to that other than unless you like pay cable for just those two shows and like seeing 40 minutes of content instead of 20 but
Yeah,
I,
I'm still
this
coping that we're only getting like 5 episodes and then we'll have another
yeah.
break. I want to believe that's so bad. But yeah.
and I guess the only like Gravity Falls so like Nick said it had its own event and it had its own like time in the spotlight but there's one like from what I can remember there was one exception to that where there was one Gravity Falls episode that didn't have its own it didn't have the night to itself and that was for Roadside Attraction where right after this
Yeah.
Storm
Wait, really?
yeah right after so Roadside Attraction happened and then right after that we got Star versus the Force of Evil season 1 finale Storm the Castle
What?
and I think
Yeah, I remember that.
My memory is
What?
totally
So-
fucked up. I don't
and-
what? I don't remember that.
and
Damn.
now that you think about it it's like the one for maybe probably the one time that Amphibia didn't have like the day to itself was probably for like the best case scenario for that episode.
Oh wait, you mean Gravity Falls? You said Amphibia.
No, because I'm saying the one time where Gravity Falls didn't want to have the night to itself because like
Oh,
I
It
mean
was roadside attraction.
I mean
yeah, that episode sucks.
Roadside Attraction.
and then like that kind of like when I think back to that night or like Storm the Castle was like the highlight. That kind of like in a weird way that kind of like helped Gravity Falls because it's like
Yeah.
oh that episode was fine and oh what's this show oh wow that what a great finale for this show I didn't watch I'll check out the rest of it
Yeah.
that kind of just like immediately shifts the
I'll
conversation.
I'll admit, I do really wish Amphibia got didn't get screwed over by scheduling once. The one upside is that if both Owl and Amphibia are airing their 2Bs to completion side by side, the way it's set up is that Amphibia will be going 1 week longer than Owl House.
No, PC.
No,
The thing is that season
Isn't
2
it?
has 21 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, never
Yeah.
mind then. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
He's
the
just a
finale's
big fat
gonna be
owl.
at
Oh,
the
that's a
same
big sad.
time.
I
Dear God.
so never mind then.
Yeah, but
I don't pay attention to what the Owl House schedule is.
Me neither. I didn't know that either till someone pointed
Damn.
it out.
Yeah, so that's just the way. There's not really, you can't really,
yeah,
you can't put the blame on anyone. It's just like,
it's just what
No,
luck.
I
What
would
fucking luck.
I would like Amphibia to get at least one night to itself where it doesn't get screwed over, but
Yeah.
here we are.
and like to tie it back to like Amphibia and Gravity Falls, it's just like, yeah, like a lot of the talk about Gravity Falls is the experience, and like I kind of wish Amphibia had a better experience. But
And okay. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, that I'm done, I think.
Yeah, I was just gonna say everything you mentioned about Gravity Falls. I guess that's sort of. I feel like that just ties back to why I just didn't like Wax Museum that much, and I think it's just because like it tried to appeal to a side of the fan base I just don't like. Like really, I guess match well with like the people who are like obsessed with the mysteries and stuff. Like, if I'm being honest, like, when I was watching Gravity Falls growing up, like as it aired, like I didn't really care that much about the mystery side of it. Like I would watch like some YouTube videos of like I don't know, I guess some deciphering, but like most of all, I was just there for like like the silly adventures they had, like like this like the siblinghood between Dipper and Mabel. Like I guess I was just really there for like the heart and soul of the show. I guess in a way, like I don't want to say like the mystery wasn't a part of that, but I guess like that just never really appealed that much to me. Plus, like it's like it was there, but it never like I don't. If I'm being, I know like a huge aspect of Gravity Falls was the mystery, but like I don't know, not much of the mystery led to somewhere except for like Stanford, right? And I guess that's why I sort of never like really regretted not caring that much about the side of it. I guess so. Like when we get to this episode where like all the homages just focus on like the cool, weird mystery aspect of Gravity Falls, I was just like, like I was just not entertained at all. I guess. I can't blame the episode because they can't just bring in Dipper and Mabel. So like, you know what I mean? They can't just bring in like frog versions of Dipper and Mabel and just give me that.
Yeah. If they had to do like a full crossover, I feel like you'd have to, if you really wanted to, like with the characters like Dipper and Mabel involved in some way, you'd have to make it at least like a 22-minute episode. You couldn't make it like an 11-minute segment. And I wouldn't want that anyway, because I wouldn't want Gravity Falls' like legacy or canon to be like warped or changed or whatever. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, anyway, Nick, you can keep.
I think that's why I just didn't really care for the episode. I guess it focused on a side of Gravity Falls. I just never. To be honest, I mean, it was fun. It was cool. Led to a lot of great moments, I guess. But like, I was just there for like I guess all the themes that surrounded Dipper and Mabel. I guess like everything about them. That's what I was really there for. I was really just there to see how going to these mysteries would affect these two. I guess that that's why.
And I guess to like I'm the complete opposite for Nick on this episode, where like I'm kind of glad that they kept like they had a lot of Gravity Falls references and whatever. It's like, but they still kept what that show was at a distance to make it this like an Amphibia episode, and not because it's like either way, whether they did like a full blown crossover with like Dipper and Mabel human form interacting with these characters, or just like or doing the way they did for Wax Museum with like all these homages and visual references, it still would have like got people talking the same amount because of the nature of the Gravity Falls fandom, or just the fandom in general. So I think I preferred the way they did it. They handled it in this episode. I think they did it really well without like Gravity Falls like casts like a large shadow over like animation discourse. So
It
Yeah,
does.
it does.
so I'm kind of glad that like Amphibia, yeah, like just Amphibia. I don't want to say they did the minimum because they actually like were very. They did a lot of stuff to like respect its legacy and like yeah. I think I'm just trying to say that I think I liked how the episode handled the way they approached this homage.
Yeah, I guess for me, it just I don't even know my opinion on this episode even counts anymore. Because I guess for me, it's just I guess Gravity Falls just doesn't feel like Gravity Falls without Dipper and Abel for me. And I think that's like the reason here. It's just because like I feel like I was just really entertained by the themes of the surrounding those two. It's like so when we have this episode that really just has like I guess like all the flavoring and spice that was added to Gravity Falls, aka all the mystery stuff. It's just like I'm just not that entertained by it, but I can see why other people.
I guess for Nick, like in your case, it's like they put all the it's like all the like imagine like a chicken like a drumstick with like all the herbs and spices and breaded stuff, but instead of like meat, it's like cauliflower.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like a watered down version of like what I grew up with, pretty much. That's why that's just why I was not like entertained with the crossover as much as people.
That's fair, but I guess personally for me and probably like the others, it's just like we liked how it wasn't like we didn't like transplant that those themes of Dipper and Mabel and like we didn't transplant that story into Amphibia.
I think because Nick, I actually see your point. I feel like I don't know. I get your point because like that was really more of like the thematic core of the show, of Gravity Falls, and it doesn't really picture in this episode. I for me, I always felt like it worked fine for what show we were in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess if you really wanted to bring that in, I guess you could have this could be a Sprig and Ann episode. But like, I feel like for what they were trying to do was homage Gravity Falls and celebrate kind of Amphibia's origins when you start thinking about it. I think they did an okay job. It wasn't too intrusive to a point where you felt like this is too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're showing well, I don't know. The point is I think this episode works well with what it's trying to do. And I feel like it's one of those things too, because I feel like you can also see the show because Gravity Falls is a lot of different things for different people. Just as how Amphibia or any show really will be very different depending on how you watched it or what you did. Because even like for me, Gravity Falls, like I thought about the mystery element, but I wasn't super involved because when I watch a show, I didn't watch it when it was airing. I watched it the whole thing. I binged it on Hulu when it was all done. So like my experience is going to be a little different. So the way I think about the themes of the show or the characters are going to be different as well. So I feel like I don't know. I think for what it was trying to do with Gravity Falls, it did a good job, in my opinion. I think they did handle it well for everyone's kind of perception of the show. I think it jives that pretty well here in my opinion. Yeah.
And I think we gave pretty much like final thoughts on this. And I guess PC, do you have any final
Um, final thoughts on what
I
exactly?
have no idea.
Final thoughts on Wax Museum. I still like it. I do understand where Nick is coming from, personally, but I still enjoy it. just because it's just a fun episode of television. But it is a flawed episode of television, but it's a fun episode of television. As for Gravity Falls as a whole, like, I don't know, man. I have a lot to think about on that.
You can make a whole podcast in and of itself with that, honestly.
There's like
Oh
5.
God, you could make.
Yeah, we could. I mean, yeah.
Oh, is that
I
what we're
like
gonna
that.
do? Is that what we're gonna do after the show's over?
No.
Yeah, we watch Gravity Falls and I fucking fight.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's like 5
Yeah.
different podcasts like covering
Oh shit! Yeah, good
Gravity
point.
Falls from like a new fan's perspective. Like, I've
That's
listened to
great.
some of them. They're pretty interesting, but
Yeah, I don't know. I love Gravity Falls. That's never gonna change. But like, I don't know. I feel like my issues with Gravity Falls are like not Gravity Falls. I feel like it has like really. If I have any issues, that's like nothing Gravity Falls. Like it just has to do like the current landscape of like discourse of animation. Like it just feels. I feel like we're just in a weird space when it comes out. We talk about like animation in general, just like the weird fixation on like quote unquote plot centric shows. How people feel about like quote unquote filler. How people just feel about Gravity Falls. Like all that stuff. It just feels weird to me.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too. I can't really fault the show for that. You know what I mean? Like it's not really
Yeah.
Gravity Falls' fault per
No.
se with that. You know?
yeah, of course
It's
not.
like it's how people kind of perceive the show and project that onto Amphibia, which I don't know how I feel about that. It's because I'm not in the fandom space as much as you guys are, just straight up in terms of that kind of thing. Because I'm pretty fresh in the fandoms in general, the cartoon community. So, but I do notice it. It is very like because I do think Gravity Falls had this thing where it kind of was an episodic show. It just had a mystery, so then you weren't acting like, "Where's the plot? What's going on?" Even though the
Yeah.
characters are thinking the whole time.
You're 100% on board. Like you are,
Yeah.
you have gotten, you've put your finger on the exact thing. It was episodic, but the mystery through line not disguised that, but changed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still some way for you to feel invested, even if the episode was just like. I don't even know. It could just be like 22 minutes of Dipper lusting over Wendy, but then they'll just be like this code in the back where you're like, holy shit! Basically, it's like that's all you needed. Like, it works.
But
Well, I mean, damn it, it works. I mean, it's a great show. Like I can't even.
Yeah.
Great show.
I guess to end on like a more optimistic note, I think the advantage of people like talking about like wanting all this like plot heavy serialized stuff, like at least it shows to like I guess to like the networks that like there's like a demand for this, and no matter like
sure.
and no matter how hard they like try to do what they want, there's always going to be like an audience for this. It's just a matter of like who wants to like tap into it. And I mean, like, and because it's not like people are gonna go back to not talking about Gravity Falls, and
No. People are going to talk about Gravity Falls for a very long time.
And when you think about it, like
Yep.
when the show first premiered, like when I remember like watching this when I was like younger, and then like when it like first premiered when it premiered for the first time, it was a hit. When it ended, it was a hit, and like it's only gonna get more like popular and more people are gonna learn about are gonna like discover the show. It's only gonna be a good thing, I think, in the long run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's just.
Yeah.
I think I think just like how media criticism work for I guess animation. I feel like we just need more shows like Amphibia that aren't like scared to be like very character driven. Because I feel like that's sort of what a lot of people just can't accept themselves. Like they can't like like they can't accept the idea of like a plot being centered around like characters' desire, characters' conflicts, blah 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 blah. Like I think we need more stories like that, just so we can have people like. I have like honestly, yeah, I have like no hostility towards Gravity Falls. I don't blame it for anything. It was just, yeah, I don't know. I just think people gotta like, I don't know. I feel like part of this is just because a lot of people are just stuck with Gravity Falls. Like I don't know. Because I feel like a lot of people just haven't like moved on from that show. Try to like watch new things, try to explore anything else. I guess I don't know. It just feels like it's a show that ended 6 years ago, but it's like
Still around.
yeah, it's still clinging on really, really hard. It's like we just haven't let it go. We just haven't let go of it yet. Yeah, it's
I feel
still.
like I feel like most of like the Owl House and Amphibia, I feel like they are still um better yet, Gravity Falls is still a character driven show. Like to
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it's not like
absolutely.
it's like I feel like I don't know if I'm repeating myself, but I'll say it
Well,
anyway.
see,
Like I
that's
feel
what
like
exactly what I'm talking about here. It's like, sorry, I would like you. Keep going, keep going.
I was gonna say like because Amphibia and the Owl House are two very different kinds of shows. Like, but they're like Gravity Falls. All those shows are all character driven. The characters change the plot as they develop. It changes what happens in the story naturally. But I think how it's presented that way is why people may have a problem with, like, say, 3A of Amphibia, where of course they're gonna like have major, big, awesome plot moments. But when we have like an episode with like Polly that's like really fun and cool, but since like there isn't mention of like going to the portal, I mean, getting away back to Amphibia or Sasha or Marcy, it can feel a little weird for I don't know where I'm getting at with it, but essentially like these shows are all character driven, but like the mystery was what held it up back in Gravity Falls, so people weren't like, "Where's the plot, man? Oh my god!"
Yeah,
over and over
that
again. So
yeah, that's just what drives me insane. Because like, it's like it's the same style of storytelling, but like, I guess the mystery, even so, the only actual like mystery plot
That paid
was
off.
just yeah, that actually had payoff was just like the whole journal stuff. It's still like it's. I feel like it's people have just forgotten what this show was actually. Like it's I don't know. Like, so I sometimes I just question like, would Gravity Falls be as successful? It came out today. Like, do people like love it just as much? I mean, would you see people complaining about like I don't know? I guess the lack of lore in this episode, the lack of like dramatic moments or something. Like would people complain about that? Like, sometimes I just question. I know the whole mystery aspect is there, but like
I think
I just feel like this type of storytelling is sort of falling out of favor.
like that's the
the
power of a
alternate timeline where Amphibia came out first before
Yeah,
Gravity Falls.
please, please. My God, it would have been popping off back then.
like the what was I gonna talk about? Nick, you were talking about like alternate universe where
Yeah, I
people
was talking about the fact that it's like it feels like I came from like I don't know, it feels like I came into a different universe after Gravity Falls ended. We're like now it's this entirely different show from what I grew up with. Like
oh
people are giving praises to it that just don't match it at all. Like, it's like,
oh
are you
I
talking about a different show?
no, because I remember when after Not What He Seems, when like there were a lot of like, I don't want to say complaints, it was just like observations that like the show was going a lot faster from for the last 10 episodes of season 2 of Gravity Falls. And
Yeah. I'll be honest,
Yeah.
I kind of share those complaints.
yeah, and then but then the power of it, at the time we didn't know if we were getting a season 3 or not. That was still up in the air, or actually Alex wasn't allowed to tell us about that. But
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
it's crazy
yeah,
how things don't change. It's crazy how things don't change like that.
Yeah, the more
but
yeah, think they just stay the same.
yeah, and then I guess the power of like a good ending is that you don't really see that criticism anymore. Like I remember like every
Yeah,
episode, it's like, oh wow, we're going like through a lot of stuff. Like things are progressing at a very fast rate, and Ford isn't getting like a lot of screen time, and roadside attraction. What's up with that? And then
I'll
And then-
always be salty about Ford not getting more feet. I'll always
but
be
then
salty about
but
that.
then but then the ending happened, and it was really well done, and all those criticisms kind of got like washed away into in
Yeah.
like that history was kind of like forgotten. Not forgotten, just kind of like it's like it's a footnote now
Yeah.
in the history
you
books.
have to you have to turn all the way to page 999 like to see anything of that. Like it's
You got to go
yeah,
to the appendix.
yeah. You're so right about that. Just the power of a good ending. Like I'm salty about Ford not getting more, but like I mean, they did really good with them in the final episode. So it's like, damn it. I don't really know what to complain about now.
Huh. It makes me think like for other shows too, has that been the case? Like
Yep.
for Avatar, right? Like I heard this weird complaint like that like the beginning of season 3 fans didn't actually like it for some reason. But I don't hear that anymore when people watch the show on Netflix and stuff. I don't hear any of that at all. It makes me wonder how like history has like warped people's perceptions of shows. Like Amphibia, I wonder how that's gonna go. Oh my god. Imagine like 5 years from now. We don't know the ending, so I mean people might be saying like 3A was bad. Like, what are they talking about?
Yeah,
What?
that's why I feel like it's gonna happen with this type of thing. I feel like as long as you end well, even if you weren't like well received during that time or you're just unpopular, I feel like as long as you end well, I feel like 5 to 10 years later, people are gonna discover the show. They're gonna be like, holy shit, was this here the whole time? Because I feel like that happens like all the time. Like I don't like Batman the Brave and the Bold,
Yeah.
like the Looney Tunes show, Avatar: Legend of Korra. There was like a recent like fucking even Word Girl, like this random ass show from PBS Kids.
World Girl has made a weird splash.
Yeah, now like that's what I'm talking. Like it's as long as you're good, I feel like people will discover you something. So I feel like even so, the reception for Amphibia is really weird. Yeah. I feel like the reception for Amphibia is like really weird right now, but I feel like just give it time. I feel like people will come around. But really, because I feel like it's like Thumb said, just having a solid ending does you so many wonders. Like, just avoid having a bad ending. It's like that just ruins you. That just ruins your whole.
I think this is a good time to wrap up. I think we've
Yeah.
Yeah.
no. I'm
3
satisfied. I think this is a good
Like 3 hours.
place to end off. Thank you guys for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it. And that pretty much concludes this week's recording of Wartwood Gazette. And next week we'll be covering Marcy at the Gates. That's gonna be I think that's gonna be our final
Oh god.
episode of season 2 coverage before we go back into season 3
the
and
end game. Yeah.
we'll see whether or not the 5 episode and then break theory is true. Because
I'm gonna.
I think we already talked about it in past recordings. Yeah, we're either gonna end on the show or we're gonna end on After the Rain, which I'm down for either, but we'll see how it goes. But
I would like to go out with a bang though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right, but yeah, I know. We'll see though. But that's all for this week. That's all for this week, and thanks for listening, and see you guys next time. Say goodbye, everyone.
I'll see you guys.
Have a
Peace,
good one,
everybody.
everyone.
See ya.